Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's David Palmer, Leo King on highvibe.tv, and we're here for After Dark, the spiritual talk show where we dip into all subjects. And, you know, we've got a special show tonight. We have got a lot of guests to be speaking with, and we got a lot to cover. But before we go into the show, I just want to remind people that the way to support for this show to continue to always keep going is to, of course, check out highvibe.tv, where we have tons of awesome content on there and free content. You can go to highvibe.tv, check out the different apps, different subscription plans, and more. Lots of stuff on there, and we really appreciate you with helping us to where we can continue doing this show. Now, tonight, of course, is a big solar eclipse, and so we've got some astrologers in the house. We got a lot of things to talk about. Now, tonight, we have Nicole Brenny, who is in the house. She's an awesome astrologer on YouTube. We got Alyssa Trahan. Some know her as Alyssa Sharp from YouTube as well. We've got the spirit advisor, Dylan, who's been on here many times before. He's an astrologer, human design, all of it in one. And we've got a new special guest as well. We've got Kim Tabay, who's part of highvibe.tv, and she is doing going to be painting live in the background. She'll be painting the solar eclipse. And she also is going to be releasing an awesome show tomorrow on High Vibe that is for free, that you can watch on the app or you can watch on the website, where she teaches you how to paint. And it's going to be super awesome. And then she's going to be having a whole other series of videos that come out teaching you how to paint. She's going to be doing the lunar eclipse. We're going to be doing live events. So during this whole show, she'll be painting. We'll be cutting to her as well. So let's start by going with our guest. What's up, everybody?
Hey.
Hello.
We got Nicole in the house. Nicole and I have worked together for a year and a half. Actually, she was one of the first. She was the first interview we did here.
Yeah. Yep.
We did.
But I was inside of a TV screen.
Yeah, now you're actually here.
It's kind of weird.
Yes. And then, of course, we have Alyssa, who's here. And Alyssa and I have known each other, what, like 8 years?
Yeah, like since the dawn of astrology YouTube.
I know. It's like kind of crazy to have you here. And we never met. We live in the same city.
It's crazy. We've tried to meet, kind of. I mean, like, it's basically like you're the busiest human being in the world, and I am also very busy. But I'm like so glad that this worked out. I mean, it makes sense that after 8 years we would meet tonight.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
It just adds more power to the night too, and I'm like really excited. Oh my God.
Oh, it's so
my
emotional.
God. What? I didn't cry.
She's been crying all day.
give it
Let's
to
be real.
Dylan. And then we got Dylan, of course, who thank God he's here to help ground some of this energy
Oh my God.
with me. How are you doing, Dylan?
I'm zen. I'm really zen. Even though things are a little bit crazy in the air, for some reason I'm feeling really extra peaceful lately. It's an eclipse on my
Chiron. You're here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to see how it all shapes up today.
I know. And then Kim, let's get Kim up on here. I've been watching Kim, and she has some of the most amazing paintings that are behind here, and you guys all see. But Kim,
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to share all this visual energy with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this solar eclipse. I want to get some astrologers and human design. Well, everybody needs to know that Dylan's an amazing astrologer, or you wouldn't be good at human design. But
I speak.
I want to see, what do you guys feel? Let's just go open talk. What do you feel? What's up, Nicole?
Well, I look at it through the cards perspective, and I think that this, because the eclipse is happening in not only Rahu in Cancer, but also Ketu in Capricorn, we have this really, really big opportunity to kind of reach the greatest heights we ever have. But it's not through the type of action that you are normally accustomed to. And I think that that is kind of like this big hidden power of this eclipse, which is seen through the card of this eclipse, which is the King of Diamonds. So I think a lot of people right now might be feeling stuck. They might be feeling lost. They might be feeling upset, whatever it is. But because it's a King of Diamonds eclipse, it's really because people want to step fully into their power with their skills, their abilities, but also in the material plane. So it's like a real practical kind of Capricornian energy of like, I just really want to fully step into who I truly am and what I'm truly doing in a way that actually works with physical reality and isn't just like this spiritual woo-woo kind of stuff. But because we have Rahu in Cancer, and kind of the power that unlocks the King of Diamonds being the Eight of Spades, there's a huge need for us to kind of take a really gentle approach and an approach of like great inner peace. And so right now, more than ever, instead of like pushing forward and trying new things and like trying to be the best of the best of the best in the way that we always have been kind of taught by society or shown to be the recipe for success, most of us actually need to be still. And there's all this crazy energy going on. Everyone keeps saying that about today specifically, but those that can find the peaceful calm in the eye of the storm are those that really already have within themselves that ticket to the ultimate success of this whole entire Rahu and Cancer, Ketu and Capricorn cycle, which is being in your inner peace, which when you're in your inner peace, you can fully hear your intuition, which is very Cancerian. And when you're fully in your intuition, you can fully hear your honest self speaking, and you can fully step into actual authenticity, which is not pushing and trying and all of that, but it's being so secure within yourself and in your own energy that life manifests itself without you really trying. Things just work out the way that you want them to. Things just work out even actually better than you could ever imagine. So there's like such amazing, great power that can be unlocked in this eclipse, but it's not Rahu and Capricorn, it's Rahu and Cancer with this Ketu clearing stuff up and Saturn trying to manifest as much as it can in Capricorn. Saturn is in its own house. Yeah. So what we really need to do is we need to be able to find that like peaceful calm, that peaceful center, and stay there, because life is going to be crazy and the energy is so intense right now. I have students, I have subscribers, all that are like, it's just insane. So if you are right now finding that little peace and calm like you are, that's actually like the skill, it's the ticket, it's the way. And we're going to see more and more people getting that great success materially, like actually physically in the world, not just like this wishy-washy, oh, I'm so enlightened, blah, 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 I do everything perfectly, but real material success, having money, having things, not because they do everything right or they're so spiritual or they're so perfect, but because they are their authentic self, because they're secure in themselves and they don't have to make something happen. They just find their peaceful restfulness inside of themselves and things just start to happen naturally.
So I have a question. So like when it comes to diamonds, it's much more associated in the cards of truth as much more of like physical realm, right? Would you say?
Yes. But
kind of like pentacles in tarot? Yes,
exactly. But the interesting thing is that a lot of diamonds people are actually the most spiritual, because we cannot be spiritual unless we're grounded. Just like a tree, the tallest trees that reach the highest into the heavens cannot do that if they don't have really, really deep roots. And that's another thing we're seeing with Rahu and Cancer, our roots, the natural fourth house of the zodiac, and then Ketu and Capricorn. So
and
it's
then
like,
what do spades rule?
They are like the hard work. They're your spirit. They're your soul. It's like all the kind of self work. So that's what we're saying with the Eight of Spades. It's like actually look at yourself.
Is it cups more like in tarot too, would you say?
Cups are the heart suit.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Leo thinks hearts are higher, obviously.
Well, no, I'm a club, so I like being a club. But club's the mind, right? Much more like.
Yes, all the mental aspect, and it's, yeah, I mean, clubs are extremely powerful.
Then what are then the hearts then? The emotions?
Yeah. Like the water element, the emotions, the feeling nature.
Yeah, because I always associate, wands with this fiery, like you'd think it'd be red.
Yeah, well, the color schemes of the cards are something that I like think about a lot.
Which came first, the tarot or the cards? Like that nobody really knows, right?
No one really knows, and honestly, like the whole history of it is so random that to me, like I don't even care about the history anymore. I'm just kind of like, you have a deck of cards. Like actually I have a deck of cards here that my student Sylvia made. They're really beautiful. I should open them up, but yeah, I'll open them up right now. But basically it's the four elements. You're bringing the four elements. You have earth, air, fire, and water, and you have the two polarities. You have masculine and feminine, the red and the black. And it's like, I don't really care how they came into being. It's the fact that we have all these forces of the universe together, and all of that together creates nature. So any kind of system that can completely encapsulate nature is going to provide some kind of magic. It's going to provide some kind of guidance, some kind of insight. So to me, it's like It sucks. I've spent literally like weeks on end trying to find the exact history of the cards of truth, and just didn't
Pretty hard to
happen.
find.
Yeah. So yeah, Sylvia made these. Sylvia Mori, one of my students, and yeah, they're so beautiful. But her deck is a lot like more.
Oh, I see.
It's not as simple, but they still follow like the principles of what
Gotcha.
you would learn. I'm not sure how the camera is, but yeah.
Oh, we got you.
She also added some of the tarot because the tarot is included. Like you can just use a deck of playing cards and still get tarot associations.
Right.
But for people that wanted to just like draw just straight up tarot cards, she put the major arcana in here, which is so beautiful. So yeah.
Well, how you feeling about it, Alyssa?
About the eclipse.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
I know. We got Alyssa.
Yeah.
Me and Alyssa, I relate with her because we kind of do astrology very similar, I would say.
Yes. Yeah, I'm over here listening to Nicole talk, and man, you know your shit. I'm not saying like I don't know my shit, but I was like, when you're around, whoa, like was something came up there. I got really nervous.
You're purging.
Okay, I know. When you're like around someone like Nicole, you're just like, you just have all of this, you're like so knowledgeable. And I feel like everything that I always do before I like even talk about astrology, like I feel it. You know, you just feel something coming, and then you feel it, and then you look, or you realize like, okay, this is what's happening. And then that's what I put out to people. It's like, this is my feeling. And I think like because of that, I mean, so like today, I was like, I can't even talk. I'm a Pisces ascendant. Like I'm stupid right now. Like the eclipse is like squaring my sun, and I feel really dumb. And
You're a Libra, right?
And I'm a Libra.
Did not saying Libras are dumb.
Naturally dumb all the time. We don't do anything smart. We're just really pretty though.
That's true.
So thank you. But like, so today, I mean, like leading up to this for the past 2 weeks, I've felt it. Like, I'm like, I know this is big. This is huge. This is like a gateway. It's a doorway to hell for some people, to heaven for other people. This is for real life to happen. And we always kind of talk about how, what goes on in the dark is eventually going to be brought to light, but it never happens. Bad shit always happens to good people. Good shit happens to bad people. And that's just because the laws of the universe have allowed it to be so. But for some reason, like this feels like in order to get through, you need to release everything from yourself, and you need to walk through like by faith. And otherwise you'll walk through by fire. You'll just be burnt alive, and you'll have to re-give everything. But the people who are living their best life, and when I say living their best life, I'm not being like being an idiot and just pretending like they're making everything okay, or the loophole of, oh, everything's great. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I do good person stuff. I'm spiritual. I like go to church, or I talk about astrology, or, I tell people when they're being bad because I'm a good person. But like these people, they have ego problems. Obviously, like a lot of people right now have a lot of ego problems. They're just projecting onto public figures, onto everybody. Everybody's a fucking victim. And we're just like, they're not good. People aren't good, and they're going to realize. And I think that's a scary moment, because for everyone who's watching, if shit starts hitting the fan and you can't calm down, you might have a problem. You might have an internal problem, and you should check it out. Like I was saying, or
check in.
Or check in.
Hospital.
Well, like get down into and figure out what it is, because everybody, you can heal yourself, but we rely on everybody else to heal us, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think in a way, like when you back to, we do astrology in a similar way. We're blunt, just bring it out there.
You and I share a lot of very similar, like, I think we just like kind of act out the astrology, actually.
Yeah. Yes. It's like become a chameleon into that.
Yeah.
I like, if it's going on, my life is a duplicate of what is happening. So like, it just is. I'm like, I can tell, like if I write something, I'm like, how did you know that this was going to be a dark day? And I'm like, because I wanted to lock myself in the room and not do anything. So pretty sure it's dark. But today felt calm, but also like I was going to barf all day. Yeah. Like yes, she can attest to
Yeah,
that. I was like,
Calm and barfing.
And
It sounds
crying.
beautiful.
and crying. I was like, what? It just comes up. Ugh, I can't get it down. Everything is coming up. Sorry, that's gross. I won't do anything to your microphone.
No, it's fine. Well, it's interesting when I saw Dylan after I did Deep Astrology, and I cried on Deep Astrology tonight, and you know, I've been going through a lot. I've actually in the space that Alyssa was talking about, kind of running around, blah, 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 blah. And then finally I did. I think you bring up a great point, Alyssa, of coming to this point of like, what the fuck am I doing, right? Like, what am I doing? And it's like these moments that are actually beautiful, even though they kind of come right now.
Come at the wrong time.
Not in the way that we want them to. Because I talked to Dylan, and he looked at me, and I was like, it was like we just knew right away that space. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just coming from my true, like, just really just calm, real, just like kind of humbled space. And he was like, it's the only way through right now. I want you to talk about
awesome.
why you feel this is the only way through, because I think 100% you're right.
I think collectively we're all getting to get a crash course in our own triggers, and those triggers being really deeply rooted beliefs that make us have those knee-jerk reactions that actually pull us out of being who we really are, being compassionate to other human beings going through struggle, and also that when we don't question them, keep us locked in survival patterns that are not conscious. So I think front and center for this eclipse, that's why it was so sensitive for people. It's like the topic was triggers, and people were either going to be consciously like working with what that looks like for them and having to be humble and vulnerable about maybe how they're a little bit violent, or they're a little bit quick to judge, or they're a little bit unwilling to hear someone's criticism of them, you know, and that's hard for the ego to fess up to the fact that we're limited beings with, you know, perhaps some prejudices or biases or privileges that we're not willing to fess up to. And I know that was showing up in my life where people were kind of like, I was talking about this with Rachel on her show last night. People have been really vocal that like don't buy what I'm selling. You know, they're just like, well, what makes you, who do you think you are? And instead of me going to that place of defense, I've had to really just listen to these people, because I know that there's something that they can teach me in those moments. And if I'm not willing to learn, how can I teach, you know? So I just think it's been a very sensitive time, of course, because Cancer is a sensitive sign. And when I'm looking at this from a human design gene keys perspective, the nodes and the moon and the sun have all been in root center pressure gates. So this is fight or flight triggering transits that are directly affecting the adrenals, the kidneys, and our, you know, reptilian brain, like you were talking about, the nervous system that just makes us.
It's been really fun. I know.
So to maintain your consciousness throughout this takes a lot of deep breaths, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of patience with people, and a lot of willingness to just like learn and witness rather than need to be right or need to prove yourself again or need to defend your concept of who you are or your ideas or your opinions or beliefs. And I think something that kept coming to me yesterday was, do your beliefs serve humanity? And if they don't, are they worth having still? So
That's beautiful. I mean, I really think this Mars, Mercury, anytime Mars and Mercury come together, it's like, oh God, oh, here we go. And we've been getting them a lot, but this one's going to be the weirdest one we've had just because, one, it's in Leo. And the last time that we had Mars opposite of that in Aquarius and went through its retrograde, it was with the South Node. There was like so much last year at this time with Mars retrograde and a lunar eclipse with Mars. And it was just like Mars was in our face. It was so close to Earth. And now Mars is in the opposite place in Leo. And it's kind of like, And I know because I'm a Leo, like we just in our solar return charts got fucked with Mars retrograde opposite our suns and Uranus squaring us. So I'm acting out like the kingdom and the kings and the queens that are all pissed off right now. Like, you know what I mean? And with Mercury there, you got to go retrograde on top of Mars at the same time. This is bringing like this really dualistic, weird, tricksterly, mercurial, just like, but it's like, the beautiful part of Leo is it doesn't have to be that like defensive. Hey, this is like, it could definitely be this like leader of, because I always look at Leo, of course it's the sun and then Cancer's the moon. So there's this beautiful unification of these two signs going on right now. And we have a solar eclipse, which is the unification of both at their most, at the moon's node though, in its own sign. So even though there's this solar activation that's kind of going on with the North Node and the sun approaching and all that, it's more of the emotional lunar world we have to tap more into to activate the solar, if that makes more sense. Like it's like, and that can act out though in a lot of ways. The moon, emotions are freaking all over the place, you know? But I think it's this Mercury Mars that becomes this like, I mean, it reminds me of like being like a reptilian at McDonald's yelling at you didn't give me my Big Mac in time. Like, you know what I mean? Like vibe.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to say something because you said, Dylan said that Cancer is sensitive. And I was like, yeah. And then you just said Leo can be like the king, like I need to have all of this. But then what else can the Leo can be the leader and the Cancer can be strong. There's nothing stronger than water and the tides that come and they drag people under. And the reason why people are sensitive and why Cancer is considered a sensitive sign is because people don't want to go under. They want to float up. And when you float, you're sensitive to every little splash, every person who gets near you and throws a little water in your face. You're like, fuck you, you're not going to pull me under. And then if you just let go and you let the water take you under, you realize it's an entire different universe under there. And it's a world and it's yours. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's your world under there. Like they say that I've never done this because I'm not cool.
Under the sea.
Yeah. But like they say you go scuba diving or whatever, you're like, it's like you entered a completely different place. Like it doesn't exist on this earth yet. It's it's the biggest part of this earth. And so we are so afraid as people to go under the sea, experience this beauty that's there, and then bring it up. And like, you know why like Taurus moons are exalted? Because Venus went under the water and was born again of the water. And that's what made her
in the
so,
shell,
and the shell. And she was so beautiful because she was the true dark part of this water and this earth and this human, I mean, like this idea of who we are. And she brought it up to light and people are like, this is what beauty is. And so sensitivity is basically like the absence of darkness and beauty. And Cancer itself wants you to be strong. It wants you to be powerful. And almost in that way, Cancer's a bigger bitch than Saturn. We blame Saturn for like getting on our back, but Cancer's the one who's pulling us under. And the moon pulls us under. And the moon is in constant rotation. So we only experience it like a couple times a month, like when it hits us in a certain way. And we're like, this is the feeling, this is the flood happening. And then it goes away. So we just hide out. But when you really learn how to get under there and you're just floating, that's when you're calm. Mm-hmm. And then you got the Leo, like Leo energy doesn't ever have to be egotistical energy because Leo just comes from the heart. It's creation. It's making something. It's leading by example, not through delegation or yelling at people or trying to control people or power over people. It's about being like, I create. And like you're a great example of a Leo because you create different things. You're very good at multiple things because they're all coming out of you. And that is what a Leo should do. And I find that like, it's like a very impressive trait about you, you know, not complimenting you like right here, but it is. It's just like, you're good at multiple things. You're not a jack of all trades and a master of none. You're a master of many. And that is what Leo should represent. And that's how the sun should lead. And I think that everybody, if they find that their own sun, they should make that create. And this Cancer solar eclipse is showing you, what can you make? What can you create? You know what? You're too sensitive. You don't even know because you have not gone under your sea to find the new universe that exists under there. That power of you exists there, but you're afraid. You're afraid of yourself. So all you do is get mad at people for throwing a little water at you. And like, this is what it is. Like, Dylan, you know, people are mad at you for what you say because it doesn't make any sense in their head because you threw water at them. The problem is you didn't throw water at them. You didn't like come up to them and say, here's some water, experience it. You were just here talking, and they felt the water on them and they chose to start a battle. That is not just sensitivity. That's like other world, upside down shit that shouldn't be happening. Speaking,
I think it kind of goes into the root stuff he's talking about in the human design, and then what Nicole's been talking about, this 8 of spades part. It's like this contradictory energy. King of spades or king of diamonds with 8 of spades. It's like this, it's like counteractive of what you would think you'd have to do to achieve something.
Yeah, and also what happens with the 8 of spades is people usually hate this card. And I remember I was running this card for like an entire year once, and it was like when I first stepped into that energy, which I think a lot of people are feeling right now, so just trust me on this, I literally felt like my life was going nowhere. I felt stuck. I felt like I was in a jail. I felt like no matter what I do, nothing is working. And I felt like I had just been banging my head against the wall, like trying to make something happen. I was working so hard. It was going nowhere. And I just felt miserable. And it literally felt like I was in a jail cell. And that is the 8 of spades. It's actually known as the jail card. Now, Now, the thing with the 8 of spades is that you can feel that way with the 8 of spades, and I felt that way for many, many months, but I was also studying the card, so I was like, I want to go deeper with this card. I want to understand what it's all about, whatever. And when you really tap into the higher frequency of the 8 of spades, it's actually, you will feel like you're, I'll let you do that. I'll wait till you come back. Okay. You'll feel like you're in a jail cell if and only if you aren't truly being your authentic self. And being your authentic self is actually like moving along the most natural lines of expression and not pushing something or forcing something or going into something that doesn't feel like you. Like being your natural self is your natural self. And so sometimes I tell people, like kind of what you were saying, Dylan, it's like, when you have an 8 of spades experience, so all of you guys out there that are like trying to find a remedy for this crazy energy, which I know that people are experiencing this because I do readings, I have students, I have clients. It's like the best thing you can do is literally just sit in a room and just feel your own energy of yourself and do nothing. Like that's the 8 of spades remedy, is like do absolutely nothing. And if you're still kind of confused about your alignment or what you should do, like go and be in nature, because a flower isn't trying to be a tree, and a tree isn't trying to be a dog, and a dog isn't trying to be a person. And it's like, you just have to be you. And I think we're so disconnected from the idea of who we are. And I do think, and I do see in the cards that a lot of that does have to do with our belief systems and the ones that are working, the ones that are not working, and all of that. And that can also be a way for you to break free. So yeah, there's like a huge potential for people to just feel completely stuck. And you can feel that way for a long time. And the answer is like, do nothing, just be in your natural self. Find the most natural way for you to flow forward, move forward. And that is the answer. That's the key. That's what people want. People don't want Nicole Brenny to come onto a YouTube channel and pretend she's Alyssa Trahan or pretend she's Dylan or whatever. Like I would hate that. And also like when I accidentally do that because I'm nervous or something, I like am embarrassed. I'm like, why am I not acting like myself? Or like you try to act like yourself, but you can't. So it's like, quit trying to be everyone else. Quit trying to be what people told you to be or what you think you should be or whatever, and just accept and be your natural you, and accept if you feel like you're in a jail, and that will like open the door. Like if you just accept you're in the jail cell, maybe the one that you've created, the door is going to naturally open, you know?
Yeah, when you're in the flow. It's like Kim right now is behind us painting this beautiful picture.
Yes.
And she's in her flow, and she's not in no jail cell, you know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
How's it going over there, Kim?
It's going great.
Oh yeah, throw her the mic.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Just to insert what you were talking about earlier, I actually have a painting. I actually have a painting called the space between comfort and pain, and it shows a woman being pulled under by a mythical creature, and that space that you see her at is like she's barely taking that breath, because that's what she's used to, right? In that space so that we're uncomfortable, we go to what we're used to, which is oxygen. Like we're so used to just fighting for air, but what she doesn't realize is when she surrenders, she's supposed to submerge herself and become another creature. And it is that space of uncomfort. And when people are uncomfortable, they automatically read that as negative, right? Like we fight it, like this is
it must be
uncomfort, right? But that space of surrender is what the gift, you know. And so, you know, just to add that visual aspect of it, I think myself as an artist, that's why I love to create, so that, you know, you guys speak on it and I could show it, you know, because when she's submerged, there's these, it's just a whole nother place that we're reaching for.
Do you have it here?
I do. It's actually hanging up in the back. So
I want to look at it.
yeah, definitely.
That's cool.
Yeah, I do like this whole submersion thing. Just because, you know, one, it's like nobody really does like to go fully deep all the way. I mean, as spiritual people, astrologers, wherever we're doing divination tools, I think we always are doing that. Look at that painting.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why I didn't see that one yet. And I've been like
All your
looking.
paintings.
Yes,
That one
we
was
looked at all of
hidden.
them today.
Yeah.
And the heart.
Yeah, so a lot of my stories are about these spaces, you know.
Yeah, actually, this is strange. When I was looking at your paintings, I was like, you paint from a deep feeling. And like Cancer, like I was just like, everything you paint, it comes from feeling. Like, and not everybody paints like that. Most people don't, but you can tell yours that you do. And you paint with so much color. And I like that because feelings are full of color.
It's bold.
It is.
It's real.
And it's bold in the right way. It's not like bold like, hey, like, look at this. It's like bold from the emotional truth.
Thank you. From nature, from how things organically flow in the depths. This is what I was talking about, you know. Our human experiences, what we're used to, fighting for air the way that we were taught to fight for air.
Yeah.
But if we could break, that's how we break cycles, if by just allowing ourselves to surrender, you know, with truth,
Yeah.
with hope, with trust in our journeys. See, I mean, it's intimidating, but look at all these beautiful things waiting for her to allow herself to submerge herself.
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me, last night I was doing my solar eclipse paid video, and I brought up I went to the alchemy exhibit with Rick Levine in 2016, and I showed people some books of the old magic books from the 1500s. And in one of the magic books, it's got air, fire, earth, water. But what it has in between all that is nature and art. And then in the middle of the top part of it is chaos. That we're in, like, I mean, chaos theory you can think of, or whatever. We're in this chaotic energy and world, but it's through this expression of art, or just even the expression of understanding and being in your true nature, or just nature outside that we live in, that you can get out of that chaotic world.
Yeah, you just actually reminded me because, you know, in like Greek mythology, the primordial gods, there's chaos is like the first one. First, there was nothing, there's just chaos. And sometimes it's a female, but then there is Eros and there was Gaia. So there was earth and there was God, love, and chaos. And like the Greek mythology, they use that way to like speak on it. And I feel like earth is nature. It's what brought forth life. It's why God loves the earth, because it has life. And a lot of times when you get too spiritual, like, you know,
Like
fake
fake
spiritual or too new age, even if it's not spiritual, like you lose all understanding of what life is. You start calling this a flesh prison. You start calling your emotions stupid. You start thinking that it is weak to feel, that you just have to keep going. And then when they say like life's a bitch and then you die, and that's true and that's accepted. But why is life loved? Why is life loved more than other things? Obviously, the universe itself does not need life to survive. We need the universe to survive because, you know, we're not here unless it exists, but it's fine without us. So what is the reason that Eros, this love, God, was like, I like you. I want you to be something. And I feel
He has
like
a crush on us, I guess. Huh?
yes. And why does he have a crush on us? Well, one, because really cute. But the other thing is because we create. We are art. We make art. We have hands. We can do things. He loves that because we can say, hey, look at what I made. And he's like, dang, that's good. Okay, do something else.
And that actually directly relates to the laws of nature as presented in the cards of truth. And it also relates to one of the greatest keys to mastering this energy, which is not just right now, but the entire time. Rahu is in Cancer and Ketu is in Capricorn. So there are 3 fixed cards in the cards of truth system. And to me, those are like the 3 basic principles of the laws of nature: the Jack of Hearts, the 8 of Clubs, and the King of Spades. Essentially, creativity, sustaining, and destruction. So the 8 of Clubs is in the center of all of this, and it's like almost like the centerpiece of the entire 52 cards in the deck. And the 8 of Clubs is like this idea or the image of like leaves blowing in the wind, right? Just like this kind of like an invisible force moving something, right? Something that has contained light from the sun and is moving towards the earth, right? It's just moving this beautiful inspiration to the earth. And the 8 of Clubs card, the more that I studied it, I realized that that is the absolute perfect card to describe why, when you hear music, you want to dance. Oh. When Alyssa Trahan is talking, I suddenly get an idea and I'm like, oh my God, that would be a great video. It's like there is something with the 8 of Clubs that describes the natural law, not of astrology, but of physics, that energy is never lost. It is only transferred, it only changes. And so that is absolute creativity. That is the muse working through you. And that is the centerpiece of all the 52 cards in the deck describing all of nature. And it's actually in the Jupiter position of the spread for the eclipse. And Jupiter is in its own sign. So this is a big key for us that if we really want to connect, if we really want to make the most of this energy in a really powerful way, that a lot of us need to connect with what Kim is connecting with, allowing the muse to flow through us. And when we hear the music, dancing. When we get that idea, letting that idea move through us, because that's literally all we're here to do, is to transfer energy in the most pure way possible. And the way to do it in the most pure way possible is to be the absolute best vessel in the entire world that you can be. And the way to be the absolute best vessel in the entire world that you can be is to be truly your authentic self, right? It's like that simple.
You kind of reminded me of like Yahweh, like, like the breath of God, like the voice, like this, that's what that middle piece is. This, if you, and Kanye West, right? He always talks about like, if you're not creating, you're not serving God. And so it's like, it's always in your best interest to keep creating. It's not activism. It's not being a talking head. It's not speaking on this. Granted, you can hear these words and they can speak to you, but it's not being like a public speaker or a motivational speaker or a YouTube astrologer. It's like, what are you doing with your life and what are you putting out into the world? Because it's through creation that we learn, and other people can start creating too. Someone is going to learn more from a movie that takes all of our ideas and puts it together than they're going to learn from us speaking. Because they're going to watch it and they're going to be like, everything resonated. My entire brain is changing, because creation is it's power. It's like, it is of God. That's like, and we carry it out, and we can choose not to, and we can lead a shit life and add no progress, or we can carry it out and become like one.
Yes. Like if we carry it out, we essentially bring the light of the sun to the earth. And that is the absolute merging of the masculine and the feminine. That is the light and the warmth, the light and the darkness, all of that. That's also why we need the darkness, because darkness absorbs light. So if we don't have darkness, how can we actually absorb the actual light that we are being provided for by the divine? So it's like all this stuff is coming up right now, and we have so much to tap into. It's actually amazing. And I do feel super inspired and creative. And actually, Alyssa and I had a super creative day today. It's like endless. So
endless creativity.
Yeah, it reminds me of, though, where I can see the snag for people. Jupiter and Neptune are squaring, and the North Node is at 17 degrees Cancer. So Neptune's at 18 Pisces, making a trine, but then Jupiter is quincunxing it at 16. So there's this weird nodal access point to Jupiter-Neptune square, which, of course, they're in their home signs. And so Jupiter quincunx, the North Node, is like, there is a weird that you have to go experience an adventure and actually in a weird way, actually experience it. Like, go experience feeling But I think that there's a fear of like experiencing feeling in a lot of people. Even though Neptune's like guiding it, like, yeah, but that's the sensitivity too. I've learned through lots of reading and lots of different astrologers that Neptune, and it doesn't matter if it's in a positive or a negative aspect, there is always still going to be the sensitivity no matter what.
I mean, it makes sense that at the end of the age of Pisces, we'd be experiencing the extreme sensitivity too, because it's like, it's the last and the final kickback before you get into a new age. And everybody, you know, they think this is the new age, but it's just the end of the age. What everybody has experienced is like, oh, we must be sensitive to everybody. That is what new age thinking is about. And it's like, no, you must be strong or you will die. Don't you understand? I mean, I just don't like, and we're not facing actual war, like hand to hand combat like they did back in the day. We don't have to worry about guarding our door at night because someone might come in and kill us. Like for the most part, yet people will make a lot of this stuff bigger than it is, because what we live in is a world where people fight with like their swords on the internet. You're hurting people, you're crushing people down, you're killing them, and we're creating a bigger and bigger ego, like a collective ego, and it's taking over. And this is how people will die now. This is how people will die, because if you are all ego and everything is asleep, you will act out evil, because evil will work through you and you will create bad things. And that's not what darkness is. That's what evil is. Darkness is beautiful. And,
I agree.
And it's just like like all of the Beauty and the Beast. I just did a podcast on Beauty and the Beast if you want to check it out. But like the basically kind of based on Psyche and Eros and Aphrodite. The thing about beauty is that beauty is the only thing that can unveil the prince behind the beast. And so that means beauty has to go through extreme to the bottomless pit of despair. And the only one who can figure out where the true light is coming from, who is the real God, is the one who's experienced the true darkness. You do not know pure light until you've seen pure dark. And we don't get that. People think, well, I'm up in the light, so I understand what the light is. Look, it looks just like me. It's just an image of myself. When in reality, you have to be completely opposite divine God in order to see what divine perfection looks like. And that's the difference. The divine masculine is pure light. Divine feminine is pure darkness. So you want to help women out. Everybody embraces darkness, because women that's where we lie. And all of that's been pushed away. Like, don't go dark, people. Don't go dark. Don't go down there. Don't do that.
You're only allowed to be a nun.
Yes.
Clean the shit
You need
up.
to be alive. I mean, light and no sex. 'Cause sex is evil.
And how about you just take care of all these sick people?
Yes. Yeah. Basically, if you're not Mother Teresa, you're not good. So you have a lot of people acting like they're Mother Teresa, and they're only doing it to fulfill their own ego needs, which is to say, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to give you money. Oh, that makes me feel good. Then I'm going to put you on blast, and I'm going to say, look at you. See this awful, stupid person over here? I helped them with a lot of money. I know. I'm good. I'm on YouTube right now because my one goal is to change a life. You start talking about your one goal to change a life, you're changing nobody, because the only thing you're trying to do is pat yourself on the back for changing people's lives. And it's like, we're not here to change people's lives. We're here to create and to give our knowledge. And if somebody wants to hear it, they do, but this is your truth you're speaking. It's not for everybody else. And if everybody else accepts it and wants it, then you're a leader. And that's when you become like the Leo energy, the sun energy, that you brought the sun to earth. I mean, like, it all comes back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Full
I
circle.
want to hear what Dylan has to
Yes, I know.
chime in.
Oh, I just feel like, the South Node Capricorn business is asking us the question of not what are you doing, but are you even being? You know, are you being a being, or are you just doing? Are you just structuring because that's where you think life is found, is through achievement and structure? I think, to embody your greatest vesselhood, to be that divine conduit for your true purpose, your true values, your true light, your true potential, it does take a kind of stilling of that collective pressure to keep achieving and keep creating out of perhaps lack or the need for more, or out of greed. And I think all these things they're asking us to be participating in purging them, basically. And And sometimes that's just doing nothing. Like, I love your advice for this kind of energy. And it's something I was actually already doing this week, which was just like, I was like, stop. I just have to stop everything.
Please
And-
stop.
And yeah.
Well, we gotta. He's a Cancer rising. You're a Cancer. We gotta listen to the Cancers right now.
And
That's right.
I'm like, why am I doing anything I'm doing? Like, is it because I think I'm trying to help people? Is it because I need to structure or build something better than the last thing I built to please God or meet my quota as a being? Or is it enough to just be here right now and just feel and breathe and walk around and, you know, not have to meet any standard of what it even means to be a being? And that, I think that actually put me in a place of a lot more presence than I was allowing, even as somebody that was trying to help people connect to their presence or their authenticity or whatever the case may be when you're doing this kind of work. So I think there's so much surprise mastery in just opening up, allowing, stilling, and also letting go of any masks that you're ready to let go of. Because I think people they're like, oh, it's a mask, crap. But it's been serving me so well for the past decade. I'm going to leave it on. It's like, no, take it off. You'll be so much happier. You will reap that reward of diving into that new depth of that new world if you just take off that surface veneer.
Like the Jim Carrey, The Mask, the movie. Remember?
Yeah.
It's like he needed the mask to get the girl to feel empowered.
Mm-hmm.
It was,
It was
a
a
great
great
movie.
And like the mask is also your ego. So the mask, didn't it eventually like take him over and he was doing weird shit with it? So like,
and then the bad guy got it, and then he had to
Right.
stop it, but then he had to use the mask to get him out. It was kind of a weird thing, but yeah.
Actually, that makes sense. But like thinking, sometimes, like, you know, to kill somebody's ego, you use the ego for a second, but then you get rid of it for good. I'm just like, because like someone with truly no ego and all heart, you're going to stay in your lane so much. But say that this person's ego is just like out of control and they're hurting a bunch of people. You might like feel like, hey, it is the loophole. The ego is the loophole for things because it protects you from the shitty things you've done. So all of a sudden you can just go try to crush someone and be like, look at you. You do all these shitty things. I am the one with knowledge. I can tell you that. But like by saying that, you're already like, you know, you're saying that you know everything and that you can call somebody out. No one should throw stones. But like if somebody is really crushing everybody that bad, somebody with an ego might be the best thing to step up and just take that person down. But then they have to be like, okay, now I'm done. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to sit by myself and I'm going to get rid of this for good. And then we all are left with nothing.
Yeah, it's like Tiananmen Square when the tanks came and that man just stood in front of the tanks. Like, the ego is like a protective force, but it also just stands up. It doesn't have to even do that much either. And by him just standing there, it was like, are you going to run over me? Like, you know, that kind of puts the ego in a lot of big checks.
Yeah, it really does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in China, believe it or not, my buddy went there like a couple of years ago and he was like showing people in China that, and they were like, that's fake news. Like, that didn't happen. Like, that was all like that's what China has told to their people. Yeah.
Wow.
That's kind of weird. There was like a Edward Case said that in the New Age, I think it was Case,
Edgar Casey.
Edgar Casey, yeah, whatever his last name. I just read it. That China, sorry, so you have to say China would be the cradle of Christianity. And I've like looked into a lot of like Nostradamus stuff, like stuff about the Grand Monarch and all of this, and like they've all have this whatever stuff about the New Age, and I don't get that one. And I want to say that, like, and I'm thinking like you just brought that up, and I was like, I can wrap my head around a lot of things and a lot of ideas that have been brought forth, and they seem to match with the time we're in right now. Like everything from like, you know, Revelation to mythology to what these people have predicted. But I don't get that one. And I'm like, why is that one there? And I just like to think that like it's there for a reason. And I don't know. I like, it's one of those things I'm just trying to figure out.
In China, you have to only praise Mao. basically, right?
Ah,
That's it. But in private, and actually, believe it or not, in major cities in China, you have to like check into your house, and if you're not home, they know. Like,
Yeah.
and they have CCRT, like CCT cameras everywhere. What's crazy though is you bring up something interesting. It was like a month and a half ago, and you guys can look it up on Google, that China started rounding up Muslim camps with 1 million people. So they started like, if you're a Muslim, you're out. Like they started doing camps, and it's funny that we don't. In American news, like they won't talk about that. They'll talk about Bernie Sanders right now or whatever, or Trump or whatever. But like there's these gnarly things going on right now in the world. And that was one major thing that blew my mind. It was on Apple News, but it was way down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that's
in some really little article. And it was like 1 million people in China right now. And it's actually based upon, even though they are supposed to praise Mao as like the supreme leader, it's funny that it's like, there's actually this Christian thing that is going on there, believe it or not.
That's actually very interesting and really, really sad. I mean, like that whole other stuff. It's also really sad. I mean, because that brings up another thing about like just how spoon fed our news is for us, just to get its reaction.
That's this Jupiter-Neptune square peeking out.
And was it the beginning of these, the people who seem to like bark the loudest about this, like people born in like 1989, 1990, 1991, and they're this Neptune conjunct Saturn, I think. Oh my gosh. See, look at me remembering. Yeah. And I was thinking about that and how like a lot of that is like the beginning of the authority truly deceiving the masses. And then now these kids, they've also been deceived because this totally like my generation wasn't necessarily, I'm still a millennial, but I wasn't like put on drugs, but I could see right after that, there are a lot of like these kids just going on drugs to subdue their personality and to make them not feel. And then now they want to feel something, but the only thing they know how to feel is what's been spoon fed. And so I feel like there's a lot of them, they're trying to break out of this and they're finding spirituality and they're finding astrology, but they don't know where to go with it. And it's not really helping anybody because they're still too afraid to just like get there and hear the bad news about themselves and to actually feel, but they've never been taught. So it's it's really sad. Like it makes me feel really sad. Like when I think about it, cause I'm like, it's really hard. So,
well, it was 93. 93 was Uranus, Neptune conjunct in Capricorn, which the internet basically was born. And so Pluto is exactly at that position of 93. So that's why we're seeing this really weird thing about social media and all the internet stuff and censorship or whatever, or how people, and especially you got to watch for those people, 93, 94, they had Saturn and Pisces. They had Uranus, Neptune conjunct in Capricorn with Pluto conjuncting it right now. So it's like with the South Node, which is gnarly because that's a really weird awakening of either completely going in this really like almost like, and it is kind of psychologically, like, however you want to put it, like kind of either deceived and also can create disorders that we don't even know exist now. And so this is all happening at the same time. And the whole weird deception thing going on, as you remember in 2016, right before the election, was Neptune in the South Node.
Yes.
And now we're playing out Saturn and the South Node. And then what are we playing at the end of this year? Jupiter in the South Node. So it's like we're going through these really gnarly moments, just bam, 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 right after another.
Yeah.
Go for it.
No, okay. I was just remembering the Neptune and the South Node. It was like insane. Sorry. I was thinking because it was right after that I quit everything. And the reason why was because the mob mentality hit its like peak. And that was when I felt like it was coming at me through so much influence and like trying to take me down just for no reason, even though like I didn't have to be taken down, but it was like my personality was taken down. And that is what, Dylan, when you were saying just be, and like you too, that was the one thing when I started, like, so I was going to quit YouTube, go away from everything. I can't handle what is going on right now with this, like everything that came out of that Neptune conjunct South Node, because it was crazy. Like I just felt like you couldn't say one word without just being called every bad name that was in somebody's arsenal. And I I mean, it was like, it started to hurt me. I'm like, why am I hurt? Why am I sensitive to this? I'm the one who hates everybody and doesn't give a. So like, but when I left, like I kept hearing this voice, like this voice was calming voice that said, you need to leave everything. And I was just like arguing with it. I'm like, if I leave everything, I will be nothing. And I really, truly believed that. And I was like, because I had built my life so far around me in like a mask sort of say, like just, I am these things that I do, but I'm not who I am inside. And so I was like, I don't even know who I am. And I just feel like everybody has a voice. Everybody has a throne in which they can judge. We all have our public image up there. But what would happen if you took that down? People, I mean, probably feel like the way that I felt for like, it wasn't forever. I'm not crazy, but I did feel like I am nothing now. I am no one. Everything I built was stupid and nobody cares. And because I am only that. And if I can't give to people, I am nothing. And I was like, but then now it's like, that's the idea of you have to give to people or you are nobody. And so that's why everybody feels like activism is from God when it's creation that is. And I know you really want to.
Right. And like this whole thing in the astrological community and even like the tarot card community of like everyone wanting everything for free too. It's like this weird thing where like if you don't do spirituality for free, then you're a jerk. Like that started like from the very beginning with me, like, how dare you charge for blah, blah, blah. Like you should be reading tarot cards for free. And it's like, none of that makes sense. It's like this is the law of nature. Like energy is transferred. It doesn't just, doesn't just disappear into thin air. So if you're giving something, that energy needs to come back around, right? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I just know like when I first started on YouTube, I would talk to people on Facebook messaging and I really felt like I was supposed to talk to them because I was helping them. And then if I didn't respond to someone, I would get, fuck you, you stupid fucking slut. Like, or like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that we were so spiritual up in this business, like that you needed my services for free. And if I wasn't going to give them to you, I was this, not only a bad person, I was the worst person. I mean, like, and you have to, if you're going to do this and if people want this from me, you have to pay for it. And I'm not going to make a video for free about every single aspect because I have a life. But if you want to pay me for a reading, I will give you the best reading of your life. Okay. Like that. I mean, and that is what you'll exchange. And if you don't want a reading from me and you don't want to know my opinion, that's cool. Like, let us just go on our way. Why are we attacking? We don't have any business anymore. So we're good.
Well, it's weird because like the best readings I always find are when it's like a true exchange. Like whenever like a family friend or a family member or a friend asks you like, do you a reading? Have you ever noticed it's like you kind of are like, it's not about money. It's just kind of like, okay, so you do it. And then like there's a part of you that knows that you just can't go over this truth bridge.
Yes.
Right? Like, right. So, right.
Yes.
But when somebody pays you, it's like, there's something about like, it's motherfucking on now.
Yeah.
And here's the deepest, like, and it's just the best
Yes.
readings of your life.
Yes.
Because it's like a fair exchange and that person is really open to like, I want to know what's there. But when people just kind of nonchalantly go like, do you have a reading on me right now? And then you're just kind of like, they're not almost ready. They're just kind of like, I just want to hear something really good right now. Please tell me.
I just like always, I tell people now if they want a reading, like for free, I'm like, well, your chart fucking sucks and you're going to die soon. So that's cool. Is that what you want? Because that's what you're going to get right now. This is where my energy level is for you. Because if I give you this energy right now, I'm not going to have any to like myself. And, as astrologers, you are your own business owner and your entire day in life is directed towards this. You have to choose when to take a break. Nobody tells you to. You're your own authority and your own boss. And so that on its own, if you're just doing things for every single person that asks, you never get a time for yourself. And then you become the worst astrologer in the entire world because you have no energy and you're brain dead. But I love the idea that, when someone pays me for a reading, I finally, I'm like, I sit down and I do it. And I'm like, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. You will never need a reading ever again in your life. I'm like, that's like my goal is to do that because
It's funny you say that. I do the same thing. I'm like, I hope you never have to come back.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
that's so funny because that's like the thing I was thinking. I'm like, I don't want repeat customers. Like I do like, like clients, regular clients who like to chit chat with me about stuff and they have this new thing and they bring it up to me. But if someone wants a reading from me, I really hope that I answered all of their questions for life and that they can now go live their life. Like if they had to keep buying from me on a regular basis, like I'm not doing a good job, am I? Like that just seems...
I think some of the older astrologers took kind of a doctor's approach of like, well, every 6 months do a checkup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, make sure you check up.
Like, no, I'm like, I really like you a lot and stuff. And, and I really do like, and for anyone who's had multiple reasons for me, like, I'm like, I get to know you and it's really fun. But if I had everybody that was like that, I would feel like I wasn't doing a good job. That's just the way that I would be. I don't, and it seems almost backwards because most people are like, you do a good job, you get them back. But it's like, no. That's how you prove as an astrologer, you're like a life coach. You go live your life now and everything should be set on its way if you listen to me.
Yeah, but people, I feel like sometimes they want to have that interaction and they want to have that check-in. And also we have like a whole new group of clientele that don't just want a reading or don't just want a life coach, but they actually want to understand how astrology works or how the tarot cards work or how the cards of truth work, so it's like I've actually had clients that have come to me over time and then eventually they're students or eventually they want to get into coaching, and it's because there's so much of this energy of like the whole spiritual thing is growing, and so people just want to be around it and involved with it. And it is really hard to find like an astrologer or a tarot card reader or a life coach that like truly is it and isn't just somebody that went online and got a certification in 2 weeks or whatever, 2 months, that never had a thought about it before, or someone that just bought a deck of tarot cards from Urban Outfitters and now all of a sudden has a YouTube channel or whatever. It's like there's a huge difference. And so when people find that authentic voice or that authentic personality, like sometimes people just want to be around that and they want to explore that and they also want to learn from that. So it's like sometimes I think people find in their readers not just like, oh, I need help, but they find some kind of wisdom and guidance. And that's another point that I was like thinking about and was inspired by with everyone talking is like, I think people are like, I want to help people. And I like strive. I've tried to strive in the last 3 years to never use that sentence that I want to help people, because I don't really want to help anyone. And I don't want anyone to come to me being like, I need help. I literally just want to be some kind of vessel that reflects a person back to them so that whatever is going on with them can like be easier. Like, I feel like I don't want people to feel like victims and I don't want to feel like a savior. And I feel like that is a big shift that's going to happen with spirituality is like, instead of being like, oh, I'm so great and I have everything figured out and like, let me help you figure everything out. It's like, no, I don't have everything figured out. There's a lot of things in my life that suck. There's a lot of things in my life that I don't completely understand. That's not the point. I'm not perfect. I don't have the perfect house. I don't even have a house right now. There's all these different things, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm here, I'm present, I'm trying to channel as best I can whatever I need to channel. And that literally is the magic, and something happens there. And that isn't like I solved all your problems or whatever. That is just the fact that energy needs to be transferred and exchanged, just like I was saying, the 8 of clubs. And so that's how I approach it, and that's how I think of it. And I'm actually like so grateful. I have so many clients and students and whatever, and like I've had clients for like years and years, even from before I actually did it professionally. And it's like those relationships, I see how our energies interacting have completely transformed these people and also transformed me. It's like that guru student relationship. I'm not saying I'm a guru, but it's like you're in this position to just bring that person the energy that they need at that time, and there's no better person to be. I think like I feel like that is like something that I'm so grateful for. And I just never think of it as helping someone. And maybe that's stupid, maybe I'm weird, but I can't think of it that way, because otherwise I'm saying, oh, there's something wrong with you. I hate when people say you need to be healed, you need healing, you're healing. It's like, no, 8 of spades. You're fine just being who you are. Whatever you are right now, that's fine. Your authentic self, whatever. Like that is, you have a broken arm, you have a broken heart. That's good. Let's just accept that. And I think we're all in the collective going to be over time in the next whatever year, going to really be touching base with and connecting with that space of like, how you are now is good enough, you know? But I've had to like express that rant for a long time. So I've been thinking about that for a really long time because people are like, I want to help someone. Why do you want to study the cards? I want to help people. Why do you want to study astrology? I want to help people. And it's like, who are you to say that even anyone needs help? Yeah. And when you ask someone, do you need help with this? Usually people are like, leave me alone. Like no one wants to use that word, you know?
Yeah. No.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry. You're going to talk. I don't want to take this from you. We're going to give you time. Push
I'm
this
done
on you,
talking.
okay? I just want to say that when I went to church, there are these spiritual gifts, and one of them is helps. And everyone told me I had that, and I was embarrassed. I hated that. I was like, I do not have helps, okay? Just because I like to do things. I'm never doing this because I want to help somebody. This is the stupidest one. You put this on all the stupid people. You're trying to get me out of your church because you're like, here, you have the spiritual gift of helps. Screw you. That's the stupidest one. You know what? Leadership was like their favorite one. And you know, they had a hierarchy. And I'm like, if these are real spiritual gifts and these are really what God gives, then they would all be equal. But everyone knows the helps one's the stupid one. It just is. But now everybody thinks it's like really important. And it's like everybody has themselves inside of them. And you're right. Like you are good as your true authentic self. Mm-hmm. And that's what people are afraid of. I mean, that's all the flood going down deep. And I'm going to not hold this.
Oh, yeah. Like in terms of doing human design for people, it's, I think, really just equipping people to trust themselves more. And also giving them a tool of self-reference that lets them see themselves as a unique being with unique qualities that move in a particular way through life and that access truth in different ways and that access creativity in different ways. And just that alone opens up so many doors for people to see themselves in a new light, to see themselves as perfect as they are, and give them reasons why that's awesome, like why they're awesome. And then also just like permission, you know, to be that, I think is one of the biggest things. Yeah. And that spirituality is going to be changing because it's Piscean to think there's a hierarchy and that we have this like ladder that we have to climb up in order to reach enlightenment or attainment of some kind of, you know, amazing new perfect state of purity. And I think we're all pure. We're all born perfect. We just need help dealing with our own minds and the conditioned perceptions of ourselves that are handed to us from the moment we take our first breath. And that's what spirituality is becoming. It's becoming an arena where we can all just be ourselves and showcase our amazing gifts and not feel guilty for being a human being. Because I think so many people are still struggling with just the ins and outs of everyday life and the perceptions that they feel they need to uphold about themselves that are dehumanizing, are draining of their energy, are stifling to their creativity, are forcing them into boxes and relationships and jobs that ultimately waste their lifetime. And I think that's another huge thing that's a gift we can give to people, is like helping them save time and energy, not doing what they don't love and not being what they're not.
Yeah. I was going to say that, like, part of this is when you talk about this Piscean aspect, I mean, when it comes to spirituality, it moves and ebbs and flows into, it's a morphing energy, right? Like, it's not a standalone thing. So, like, look at just time. Like, spirituality has been defined in multiple different ways because it is a non-definable thing. It just is what it is. Like, you know, it was about Horus at one time, you know, and then now it's about Jesus, you know. But it's funny, like, and I think this is where the truth bomb comes with this Jupiter square Neptune, and with also the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn for the first time with the South Node in over 1,000 years is, and you got to go even farther back to try and find it. But the whole idea of what we call church and Christianity and religions today, it's just like, that's, I think, the biggest subconscious stuck place for a lot of people. And that's the big thing that holds people back. Like, I have to do this because, like, it's conditioned so deep. And there is, if you really become awake spiritually to this fact that there is no such thing as just this one place that it always is going to be like, and that's how it will be for the end of this whole time. Like, it's just not that way. It really changes. It ebbs and flows. Human design is popping right now. Astrology's come up, it's come down, it's changed, and it always changes. Human design will constantly change. Actually, what Dylan's doing is he does change human design to newer forms. And it's like, that's what this is about right now, is it will always change. And astrology is ruled by Mercury. It's hermetic. It's there's no such thing as it being the same thing. Like, that'd be boring.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why, I mean, not to like, well, I was gonna like not to toot our horns or whatever, but like at the time that we came onto YouTube, we came on because there's nothing like what we felt astrology should be like. So that's what happens. Like, and that's when it took off. I'm not saying that we took it off because it's not true. It was like a bunch of things at one time, but now you've created astrology into something that was very confusing to something that is memeable, that you can't run away from these astro memes, and some of them really don't make any sense. And I'm like, well, you guys just don't know astrology, but you're like, well, think you do. So you make this meme and I don't get it, but whatever. I'm old now. I'm old on astrology because you have to go even deeper than that. But that's, yeah, I mean, it's great because actually Mercury and Hermes and Loki is related, and
Not
it's
the rapper.
Yeah. Tom Hiddleston, he's like my boyfriend. Sorry, whatever. Like, he's like so cute. Loki, sorry. Oh my God. For 1 second, I forgot what I was going to say. But Loki's so cute, but he's the trickster god. And all of this astrology's, in a way, all of it's kind of tricksy. And I feel like that, like, it's funny. It's interesting. And people have been calling it religion. And I don't like that because you don't need to say, this is my new religion. You don't need a religion. And I know that's weird, but you don't need rules. If astrology is your rule and not your guideline or your map, then you're just confining yourself into this thing that is going to change. It's going to ebb and flow. It's tricksy. And I think astrology does, it flows more with spirituality. It's like tricksy, but like religion has standard rules that even when things change, it won't. And those rules, they'll say, are put there for a reason. But what reason is that? Maybe our brains weren't evolved yet, and that's why we needed those rules. But now we just don't. So you have to let them go. You have to be free of them. Like, do you really need to be told to not say fuck anymore? Is that something that really needs to happen? Like, I just wondering, because does it? Like, because why am I not allowed to say it when it's a really good word? Because it offends some people. But like, who cares if I'm going to offend somebody? I'm going to offend somebody now because I go on the internet and I say something, I don't know. I mean, I can't even think of all the offensive things I say to people. Animals don't have souls. You know, that one. Like that one's going to be like really, really offensive. But I could also say I'm not a feminist and I'm going to offend people. I could say a million different things that might be true of me and I'm going to offend people. And I'm like, why do I offend you so much? But like, because you have rules. And they're
unwritten too.
They're unwritten. Yeah. And communities create rules. Feminism has its set of rules and boundaries and you're not allowed to go out of it. So it's its own religion if you think about it. And they don't have to be said because this is what you do. Like right now, Taylor Swift said some stupid thing and everyone's like, women need to support women. We should support Taylor Swift. Well, what if women say something stupid? Do you have to support them? Like, is this what we've become as women? We have to empower every woman that doesn't deserve to be empowered.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah,
literally.
Because I get irritated about all that stuff. Like, it just is like, this is stupid. Like now, what? Like, no one has to agree with me and people can be mad at what I say. I don't care. Like, it's the thing that it is. It's like what I believe and it's my truth. And if it's not your truth, move along, sweetie. Like, that's cool. But then like, don't argue with people on the internet over their truth and your truth. And also don't go to bat and mob mentality trying to take somebody down, like cancel culture, all of that stuff. That's all based on your own rules too. Like, this is wrong. You shouldn't do this. And it's like, why do you know? Are you the judge? I didn't realize, like, he who has not sinned, throw the first stone. And we're all fucking throwing stones. So I didn't realize every single person out there is perfect.
I mean, Pink Floyd did it right with The Wall, right? It was a movie. It was an amazing album. And it really was just how society's like. And of course, we don't need no education and the whole visualization of all these students going into the meat grinder and being turned into meat. Like they really were putting out a huge message to people of this wall that is in their life that causes them to do drugs. It causes them to go down these really crazy paths because they're afraid to, and especially in that movie, it gets really intense where the judge becomes like these big balls and turns into this judge of like, you can't do this. And he's, Pink is freaking out. Like it's insane because we live in a world where actually these unwritten rules are walls. They're walls that cage people in, and they really are the dark's way of not having to police people by them policing themselves by these rules. And honestly, I did a lot of work about the whole religious aspect. It's the age of deception. I'll keep promoting it. It's got lots of views on YouTube now. But I spent a year going through because I wanted to know, am I really a sinner for being an astrologer? Yeah. And when you get to the bottom of it, it was all when the Pope became the first. He was a Pope and he was also the ruler or emperor of Rome at the same time. So that'd be like right now if the president became the Pope.
Yes.
And writing rules for both.
And they're just, passed on down a long line of whatever next corrupt person the corrupt people feel like they should put into power because we don't vote on the Pope. Why don't we get to vote on the Pope? I mean, why are you so afraid for people?
Cardinals do, and they have a bunch of cigarettes before they go in there too, because they can't go. If they might be in there for 3 days when they do the paper and let them know who they're going to elect as Pope, they chimney smoke outside before they go in. They actually smoke inside the church too. I found out, but
really,
interesting. Yeah, but they go out there and
they, like the Da Vinci Code gets a lot of stuff wrong. I mean, look at me, I'm acting like I could school Dan Brown a little bit on some stuff that he was saying, but a lot of stuff, I like how it says, so dark, the con of man. Like, it's like one of my favorite things. And it sometimes goes in my head whenever I see something that relates to like something that I know comes from the Catholic Church, and like a lot of times, like, and I've said this before and some people have not really liked that, but all spirituality is today, all this new age spirituality comes from this Catholicism. We're not like stepped away from it. Like in the Western culture, we still follow and adhere to the same rules that were set by the Catholic Church. They just have evolved with different names. But you go down to it, it's like you're keeping this stuff and you're keeping certain people down. The only thing now that you're fighting is like, women should have all these rights, but we really like it. The way that they're trying to do it is like, women should just, become like rise up to men, instead of the fact that maybe everyone should just be broken down to the same level, and we should all just realize who we are and we're all people, and that nobody should ever be put before everybody else as a perfect human. Mm-hmm. That is not what was ever written in the Bible, which this stems from. All of these rules, and that the fact that we're all waiting for I think people are waiting for the second coming. In general, everyone wants to be the one.
I really want to talk about that one a lot.
You do?
Well, because on January 12th of 2020, 2 days after the lunar eclipse that will be in Cancer with the sun, Mercury, and then Saturn, Pluto meet exactly for the first time in Capricorn, right? Mm-hmm. And it's Mercury on top of Saturn, Pluto with the sun.
That's a creepy time.
During an eclipse cycle, and the south node will be on Jupiter. So there will be, in January of 2020, a false voice.
Oh.
That will be the most deceiving, deceptive, dark, but look like polished and look perfect. And it's not looking good because South Node and Jupiter in its debilitation, in its fall position, is like people will believe it. Mm-hmm. And that's what this has all been setting up towards. Everything you've been talking about, everything we've all been talking about is literally, whether it's the race war, whether it's the women's war, like all of it is to separate as much as it can. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened with Jupiter square Neptune in 1853 and 1852. What happened after that? A civil war. But we're going through the product of a Jupiter square Neptune. We're going through Uranus and Taurus, which is the buildup of World War II. We're going through Pluto at the last degrees here of exactly where the Boston Tea Party was right before the American Revolution at the same time.
Yeah.
So, but there is something about Mercury and its position of taking a benefic and a malefic. But when it's with Pluto and Saturn and with the sun on top, with a south node and the south node on Jupiter during an eclipse cycle, and that's when they finally meet, that is that formulation of a second coming of falsity.
That, I mean, it makes sense.
It's false. It's false.
Whatever. And actually, it's interesting. I was just thinking. So, you know, our Independence Day, Stranger Things 3 comes out. I don't think there's coincidences in anything. So, like, every time I talk about something, it comes up because I'm like, this is something. We live in the upside down. Everyone thinks they're right set up, but they're really disgusting toxic, right? So what's the toxicity? That is the upside down. Everyone is an ego monster. They're all these things, and they're chewing people up and taking over the world, right? So I was thinking during like the solar eclipse, like this is what I was feeling. I've been feeling this, like that the door that's opened, when I say like you're gonna go to heaven or to hell, it's opening itself up so that the upside down goes back to being upside down, and that the people who choose to really go deep inside of themselves actually will rise. So instead of when you feel like you're going deep and you're going dark into the water, like that feels like it's upside down right now, but it's going to start feeling like right sit up, like it's all going to flip. But then what happens is, why is this happening before what you're talking about, is because people have to be ready. Because
that's what this eclipse cycle is right now.
Yeah, exactly. So like people,
this is where you know.
Yes, because it's becoming physical. Everything is physical now. It used to be like you had thoughts, things might happen, but like nothing good's happening. You're hitting a wall. You're trying to go forward. You're trying to be okay, but this is like, no, it's your time now. Are you ready? Go through this door. You'll be fine. It's going to be a little scary because you're going to feel like there's nobody here. You're going to leave your friends and family behind. Hey, Rapture.
Yeah. They made a movie, Left Behind.
Yeah, for a reason. And then everybody else who's left in this upside down now will be following the new leader, but it won't matter because the plan was always to keep life. Life will find a way, and life is what is growing, and life is what requires you to go deep. And so that is what will happen. But it's just like the people who will be deceived. It's interesting. Like, you kind of think about everybody who's tuned in tonight, like whoever you are, you're hearing it. So you're experiencing it. You don't have to necessarily believe it, but it's like, we've been like living this shit. Like we've been researching it for years, like all of us. And we know that this stuff it's not a coincidence. It's been here. It's just like you're like, yeah, we know. Like we haven't talked. We've never been together before, but we all know. And all it takes is for everybody who like hears the message just to be like, well, what do I want to do? If I go deep right now, guess what? You're going to go high. Well, it used to be that you go deep and you go down, but now you're going to go high.
Well, it's like the analogy I like to use of like, if you're in a swimming pool and you swim all the way, if you just swim halfway into the depth of the swimming pool and you try to jump out of the swimming pool, you don't get very far. But if you swim all the way down to the bottom and you jump off the floor of the pool, you can actually like propel yourself so high. And I think that the thing that's happening right now is like people really want something to believe in, and people want to be told what to do. And I think that is sometimes why people go to astrologers and tarot card readers, and why like the automated tarot card readings online are so popular, because people are like, tell me what to do, tell me what to feel, tell me what to think. So yeah, no one trusts themselves. And that's the thing with Rahu and Cancer, is when you have like some kind of malefic influence happening in Cancer or your fourth cusp, there is a dishonesty with yourself. There's a lying to yourself. And when you lie to yourself, you can't feel or hear the truth. So there's something about Cancer that brings up like real truth and real intuition. And so like that's part of our evolutionary process right now, is also to be experiencing our real truth and being honest with ourselves and feeling, because real intuition comes from feeling. And yeah, I think that if there is like a false prophet, it really is because people are afraid to feel what they feel. And then people are so hungry for someone to tell them, this is the light, this is the way, this is the path, 100%. And trust me, because you can't trust yourself.
Yeah, we're leaving the age of like institutionalized authority, and we're leaving the age of trusting that which is outside of ourselves. So of course, in the crux of it, we're going to be going through the biggest tests. Like, who are going to be the ones that truly listen to themselves, who truly, for whatever reason, you know, by the grace of spirit or through years of preparation or whatever, who are going to be the ones that see that false prophet and still choose their own heart or their own truth. And I think that's, even in this course of this conversation, it's really important to see that like people that are doing what we're doing are really out there offering tools to stay connected to your truth. Because after a certain point in the next 2 decades, I could see even there's really not going to be the kind of mass management in any way that's like free or positive. You know, it's either going to be, like you're saying, there's going to be a really big division coming up between an outer authority or an institutionalized authority that's very oppressive and very punishing. And, you know, we're seeing some of this kind of stuff in the world already. And then there's going to be, you know, it reminds me of this quote, "The meek shall inherit the earth," where there's people who have maybe not chosen what looks the most powerful, what looks the most safe, even, because of course I think people trying to stay in power are going to use safety, Cancer, as a means to, you know, culling people over to their side of things. And I think it's really important in this eclipse cycle for us to construct a means of feeling really safe within ourselves so that we can be prepared to face these really weird situations that are going to be happening in the world. And I think it does have to be physical. We have to have a physical safety about us to not be swayed, because, you know, our nervous systems are already so influenced and hooked up to cell phone culture that we may not even realize it, but we're so much more permeable to messages and to things flashing on our screen. You know, they have a science behind how all of these things are designed that pull us in with our dopamine receptors and basically physically addict us to electrical signals. So it's like, if this is our baseline, then where do we have to hold ourselves together outside of that? And if then they're using this against us or for a different, you know, plot, then what is best for humanity, you know, we don't have a really good chance of surviving that. So,
well, I mean, let's take North Node and Cancer. The last time it came around, which was 9/11, which was a sensitive time for people. Right after that, of course, we go into the wars, but that's when terror alerts came out with red, orange. You know, what is the terror alert today? Instead of the weather, it's like it's orange, or then it's moving to red. And I think that Dylan, you know, brings up a good point, especially in these next 2 decades, because one of my good friends is Shaman Derek, and he's told me, it's even through the shaman community, that they all know that like this next 7 years is like imperative of like to make to awake people to this notion of finding within themselves and getting out of the illusion, because basically after that, like if it's not done by that point, there's kind of like I don't want to call it an end all be all, but I don't know.
Locked out. It's a genetic thing too, because 7 years, 2027 is when a whole new scheme of energetic interrelation begins with humanity, where we really start to, maybe not instantaneously, but begin to wake up to spirit awareness and what we've understood to be our emotions, and that kind of volatile experience of our astral body is going to change dramatically, and it's going to become a conduit for communication. And if you're not in alignment with your own genetic code, if you're so conditioned that you're living a not self life, by that time, it's like the stratification is going to be too extreme, and, you know, you won't be able to you won't have the right firmware to install that update that happens around that time.
And that's Neptune, Uranian times and trine or in sextile, like that. It's going to be pretty unique. Where we're in the semi-square right now, which is like this weird halfway point since 1993 of when they conjuncted, right? Most people look at halfway points as the 90-degree square to the 180, right? Like a full moon cycle. But if you just look at how long an outer planet cycle is like this, like since 93, it's taken them till 2018 for Uranus and Neptune to make a 45-degree angle. And that's happening this last year and now this year. And that is the collective really confused, that is internet and media and all of it in a really big clash. Like, look at cable. Cable is clashing with internet right now as far as who's providing what. And the cable companies are like, well, I guess we're just going to provide the internet. And at least we have the control of that now, because we don't have control of people like television anymore, but at least they're controlling it with that. But yeah, I think Dylan's right. There is like a reprogramming, but also like you have to kind of be, I think it's funny because like I think Windows just released a month ago. They were like, okay, if you're on Windows 7, like you're fucked. We're not going to update it anymore. And, Windows 7 was a big deal after, Windows Vista and all that stuff, right? So it's like, wow, that's even like done now, right? Like no support, no more tech support. We're done. You're not, you're, and it's even like on older Macs, right? Like you're done. Like you can't even update anything, right? So there's this updating spiritually in the same manner, in the same form. And if people don't want to do that within themselves, then, just stay in the old system and just like there is kind of, maybe there is something about the revelations or this like left behind thing. And Dolores Cannon speaks about the earth splitting into, basically a new earth. And I've always been a big advocate of hers because I really feel that it's a dimension shift. And actually we talked a lot about this last week, Dylan.
We love our dimension shifts.
Well, and especially I feel like it's Saturn's reign ending with Saturn in the south node of the control systems and the institutions that you're talking.
And I think another huge thing is like we have to know our rights, not just in terms of the laws of the earth and the laws of the land and the laws of the sea, which is a whole other story in terms of corporate personhood and something all of you should look up out there. But we need to know our rights cosmically and just as beings, and that no matter how large an organization may be and no matter how much influence a government or religious society or whatever has, your being as it stands on this earth is fully deserving and fully worthy of sovereignty, which means that nothing outside of you can truly decide for you where this life is going, what you're subject to, etc. And we have never been taught that. We have never been introduced to the concept that we are wholly, just completely deserving and totally, honestly, the masters of our own will. We're immediately funneled into all these flows in life that make it seem like your teacher has more authority than you. Your boss has more authority than you. And we get so used to it, or we never get acquainted with the fact that we're unconditionally, what's the right word, guys? We're unconditionally like empowered as who we are, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe that we are not part of, I don't know, hierarchy, or that there is some sort of like
there's something outside of us.
Yeah, I would say maybe
that can decide for us. It may seem like it, and we may be scared into believing that and giving up our sovereignty in some way by signing a document or agreeing to say something to someone that allows them to incriminate us or whatever. But in truth, if you really hold your ground, nothing can touch you. And I think more people need to get comfortable with, people can shoot you, they can shoot you with rubber bullets, whatever, but there's always going to be that spiritual force that is more in alignment with that truth of sovereignty than anything else. And if you really hold to it as a core belief, you will see that your reality reflects and respects your sovereignty. And I think more people just need to get up to speed with that so that they don't even feel the need to.
Yeah, we're not ruled.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking like the big thing that people really like to hear is like, you are you and that is your power. You have power over yourself. Anybody who takes control over another person's power is evil. That means that any authority that tells you what to do is inherently evil. But like we obviously have lived like that for so long, we think that this is exactly what we need to be led. Like somebody should tell us, somebody. And I mean, in this sense too, like we've done all this research, so we, you can tell people, they can pick it up or put it down. It doesn't really matter. It's like we do it, I think, you just want to know, like some people, their brains are just wired to like look into this, right? Like there's a reason we got into astrology and you got into cards of truth and human design and everything is because you're like, you can sit for hours and just like look at it and be like, holy, like what's going on with the earth? And so in the
but
world,
you also have to remember that we all did it when it was like the most castrated thing to do.
yeah, it was super embarrassing.
Right? Like it wasn't like, it was like cool.
No, I was made fun of all of the time.
Yeah, it was definitely like when I started YouTube, everybody in my life made fun of me. My parents, I tried to tag them in something. I was in a magazine, tried to tag them on Facebook, and they removed the tag. I thought it was a glitch, tagged them again. Very embarrassing moment for my life story. Like, I was like, you know, and it kind of is interesting because people are really afraid of having enemies, right? Like saying something that's going to make somebody hate them because that kind of takes away their followership and whatever else, you know, whatever. But like at this point, when I think about it, I'm like, you know, you don't like me, but that's really okay because my own parents don't fucking like me. Like they don't like anything I'm doing. They're embarrassed of it. And you have to deal with that because you know what? My parents are not attached to me and they're not my authority. And if we can't even go down to the fact that our parents aren't our authority anymore, which people can't because you still look for them. Why are we so many more people live in their parents' basement, like living off their parents' money? And they say it's because, well, we can't make our own money in this climate. And, you know, it might be true, but the other truth is that you still are connected to your parents' energy and your parents' frequency, which was lower than what you want to be. And so you have to disconnect from it completely and be willing to not make them proud. Be willing to go out into the world, do your thing, and know that probably everybody around you is going to throw stones at you and think you're stupid. But eventually, if you follow your own truth, eventually people will look at you and be like, you know what? You always followed your own truth. You're always authentic.
It's like Inception.
Yes.
On how, you know, that energy leader, the Asian guy is like, I want you to go and incept the son of the heir of the biggest, that's going to be the biggest power, you know, energy thing. And incept in his mind that he doesn't have to follow his father's wishes of holding the company, right?
Yeah.
Like how they have to go into the dreams and the deep layers to incept that into his mind for him to shift that perspective. It's almost like we are bringing out the inception of these ideas that are subconsciously slowly through the realms of consciousness, slowly incepting in as a positive beacon of light, opposed to where there is another force out there that is incepting these darker, like kind of, since we're in Cancer, but the opposite form of Cancer. I think it's ironic on how the actual Cancer health-wise is associated with emotional health, right?
Yeah.
Like that Cancer, when somebody hears me say Cancer, they think I'm talking about like physical cancer. I'm like, no, I'm talking about the sign Cancer. You know, if you meet somebody on the street or whatever, but they're very connected of like the emotional body and the emotional truth. And people hold on to these emotional places that are incepted within them that isn't what their emotional body really, really wants or really, really feel, or they hold on to it and they're not willing to go through it. And then that's what creates Cancer itself. Like the most proof is not about whether it's the smoking, the drinking, the food you eat. It's the emotional is what they have proved the most of.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that that's why it's sort of nice that opposite Cancer you have Capricorn, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is like the guy that takes out the garbage. He's like the garbage man. So when we look at like polarities and how to integrate them, which is like a very, very powerful thing to do when you're looking at your birth chart, you take that concept of Saturn and Capricorn and try to apply it to Cancer. It's like you can't hang on to emotions. You have to take out the trash. And right now when we have Saturn conjunct K2, it's like one of the absolute best times ever to take out the trash, get rid of the baggage, like feel the emotions but not hang on to them, like let it flow and, you know, get to a better state of health and higher frequency because you're not so weighed down.
Yeah, and I think when you bring up the trash man, it's like Capricorn or Saturn thinks he's the trash man because he's like, this is my world and I want it to look the way I want to. So I'm going to take out the trash myself. You know what I mean? Like, look at these people. Fucking rah. But it's this notion that he thinks he believes that he owns the world. So he's willing to take out the trash because of like, but with the South Node there, he's realizing like, I think he's doing more positive stuff. If you actually tap into the South Node, it's kind of like helping people take away their trash so they can actually be more pure and authentic, because I think Saturn's kind of at a point where like, yeah, I've lost control, and maybe the only thing better of like to do here is like, maybe I still feel, because Saturn just wants to feel like he's got authority in some way, and actually he's being tricked into thinking he has the authority of like helping people get back to their true alignment in a weird way. Yeah. But that's all he really wants, is just the ability to do something that executes. He's an executor. Like, I'm executing this plan. This is the plan. Okay, whatever it is. Like, and with Pluto there, though, there is a hidden aspect to it all. Like that there is a cloaking around it all. And that there also is the other part of it that's positive, that forces you to take out the trash. Like, it's a force that, like, if you don't, like, and I was saying in my deep astrology tonight, it's like when you're in this kind of space that we opened up with, like this kind of, you're frantic and everything. It's like you're going to open up every door and there's a tower card. And then I laughed and I'm like, and then behind that one, after going tower, oh no. And then it's like, the death card's there. No, you know what I mean? And it's like, and then I brought up the whole Cancer form of like, you know, when I was a kid, I wanted my mom, I was like, I want those baseball sheets, you know, of that team or whatever. And it's like, yeah, just now we're so used to tower and death cards everywhere. It's like, yeah, just tattoo death card and tower on me and get me tower card, like, you know, bed sheets and like start putting it all over my room, because it's like, if you want to just keep owning that place because that's what you want to do, like, instead of looking at it like Nicole just said, of like, this is a great time to just take that out and not own it either anymore.
Right. And then also K2, for those of you that don't know, that's like the shadow planet of liberation, of moksha, of like the greatest transcendent spirituality you can imagine, of getting out of the cycle of reincarnation. So it's like there's such a spiritualizing influence right now of that Saturn K2 conjunction. And even with this like Capricornian Saturn thing, I also think about numerology and the number 10. And it took me a really, really, really long time to like truly understand what the number 10 was all about. And I don't really know why. Maybe it's because I don't really have like a lot of 10 energy. But the 10 is super interesting because we were talking earlier about the ego. The 10 is a 1 and it's a 0. And it's like basically the entire path that you walk along, right? But you look at like 1, it's like a straight line, and 0 is a circle. It has like no beginning and no end. And so the interesting thing about Capricorn, which I haven't really thought so fully about, so this is kind of something we can meditate on, is that Capricorn kind of represents almost like the same mythology of The Little Prince. I don't know if you guys ever read that book or whatever. The Little Prince is basically like, from my childhood memory, this prince that has this amazing kingdom, but he's like, yeah, but I want to explore and I want to see this place and I want to see that place and I want to see the other place, blah, 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 blah. And he travels all of the universes and all the different kingdoms, and he's really trying to find his true home. But at the end of all that journeying, he realizes that the home that was the absolute best for him was actually the kingdom that he had left behind. But the 10 doesn't tell us that, okay, we should never leave our home. The 10 tells us, or Capricorn tells us, or Saturn tells us, especially right now in this spiritual way, that we can never really know our true home or our true selves or our true truth or true intuition unless we actually do take that journey. And I think that right now too, it's like about kind of embracing whatever journey we've been on to find our authentic selves, to find our truest spirituality, to arrive wherever we are right now in this perfect version of ourselves that doesn't need to be healed. And embrace that journey, and understanding that maybe exactly where we are right now is exactly where we need to be, or maybe home has always just been where the heart is, but we can't truly fully understand that unless we have taken that journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I really want to bring up this numerology thing because my teacher, Chris Witecki, he does step astrology, and we spent years talking about numerology with astrology, especially a lot of people look at numerology with different like numbers or different vibes for different people. But there's only 9 numbers, 1 and 9 through 9, right? That's it. So 0 is actually Pluto, right? Because it can either transform a number and give it multiply the power, or it can literally take the whole power and bring it down to 0 to nothing, right?
Yes.
So, but when you get to 10, now you're getting out of the whole system, which 1 is the identification of self, like sun, with Pluto. It's like either A, defining complete power of what it is, or completely nothing of what it is. Like completely just, like, 1 times 0 is 0. So it's like either like the identification completely powered to the millions of just yes. And especially once you get to the next step, which is now you're getting into numbers that are combined, because 0 through 9, that's just one level, right? Like, and that's the main level. But when you start adding numbers to things, now you're getting into, and that's why people, I'm going to be very blunt. When people start being like, I'm a 33 or I'm a, I'm like, what is, oh yeah, it comes down to 6, you're 6. Like, I just always go down to the same 9 numbers. Like, it's just like, and that's just me. A lot of people get weird about that because they feel more special sometimes when they actually get to those double numbers, when actually they're now playing in a realm that there's some things to it, but it's kind of like, there are 9 planets. Like there's, like it's all very connected in that way. But anyway, so that's my opinion.
Thank you.
I want to hear Dylan's
I mean,
thing
I agree
about,
with you. I
about
agree with
numerology.
It's a short answer.
Yeah.
I think numerology is a corrupt occult system, and it's fucked to the core. So I don't use it at all. Sorry.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I just kind of go by I like the life path number as far as like, just adding your whole birthday and your year, I've seen some aspects of that there. I mean, I'm a 7, so that feels true to me as being spiritual and an artist. And
I see. For me, I feel like numbers are of God. Like they're the most divine, way. It's his building blocks of life. 3 is, the triangle. It's the strongest number, and 3 is like, to me, like the number of God. And then like you go through the numbers, and I just feel like they're there and they're building blocks, and that's why everything can simplify back to 9. And that to me like proves structure exists. And so when I see that it proves structure exists, it proves to me that what divine masculine wants, what this wants, is structure. And obviously then that does relate to Saturn. Saturn is it's like the army, or like the leader of the structure, coming out to structure everybody. But if we can structure ourselves, like from inside of ourselves, we don't need the structure of everybody else, but we have to learn our own structure. And so I always like numerology for like structuring purposes, because I am an 8, and that's my structure. Like I definitely am structured like an 8. I mean,
yeah. Well, also, I just want to say, too, like, in terms of what Dylan was saying, like, numerology is corrupt. But I guess it depends on, well, I don't know exactly what you're saying by that, because there's so many different, like, numerologies. Like, there's a numerology that you go into Barnes & Noble, and there's a section on numerology, and you get a book, and it's like, do this and that and the other thing, and get your number, and here's 20 pages about your number. But I studied numerology from the Cards of Truth as taught by my teacher, Ernst Wilhelm. But also, more than that, or more than whatever he's saying, I just study numerology in the sense of there's one thing right there. What does that mean to have just one thing right there? What's happening if there's just one thing in front of me in blank space? And I sit and I meditate on that, and I think about that for like 4 days. And then the next day I'll be like on my surfboard floating in the ocean. I'll be like, there are 2 birds flying around. What does that mean, having 2 things that I'm seeing in my visual sphere? And it's like, to me, that is not corrupt. To think about like just the pure essence of numbers and what a holy trinity is, and like what the, like there's numerology, like numerology, brand name, #numerology. And then there's like the fact that there are groupings of things in space, and that represents something, and that means something. And when you look at them, as I was saying before, you take the 4 elements, the 2 polarities, and then you take the organization of things in space, the numbers. And I think that is pure magic. So I have to disagree with the corruption in terms of like how I view what numerology is, but I'd like to hear more.
I see obviously the divine beauty of numbers and relationships and geometry, especially. I just meant the actual system of numerology.
Like #numerology, like numerology
Western
section.
numerology.
Yeah, and I can agree with that, because I never actually see that system working when I apply it to my personal observations and the groupings and like the cards and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and that's why I brought up with even Chris, like the numerology that he really formed through astrology, like was different than like what that kind of standardized form was by using the tools we use, opposed to it being like the thing on its own. I think like on its own, it doesn't operate. It needs connection to other divination tools or something.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what like Dylan means too, is like on its own is like running your whole life off like this kind of numerology only,
Well,
like
you know-
kind of without any connection. Like it's kind of like, what?
People who go crazy, they start really following numbers. Like they do, like they'll start seeing numbers, the same numbers in license plates. Like people do this, and this doesn't mean that you're crazy.
Get me right. Or don't get me wrong.
No, I'm not. No, and I want to say that because I do too. Okay, I
I'm
find
a
numbers.
freak for 222 till the day I die.
No, 222 is my number. So
really, and yours too?
what? See, I got 222.
You're on the 222 gang, and
Bitches
he's a
ain't
23.
What are you?
23.
I always look at 23.
23. Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And so Jim Carrey too was.
Oh yeah, 23. I know, like 22. That's interesting. I was.
Yeah, we're different.
Everyone says it's 33, but I think it's 23.
I think it's
I don't actually know.
Well, Michael Jordan is actually Jesus.
Yeah, Kurt Gibson too.
Yeah, and I guess LeBron James just gave up his Jesus-dom.
If you watch movies, a lot of the times if there's like an apartment number or an address number or a car number, typically 90% of the time it is said that number is going to be 23.
Oh,
Like literally, like watch like the apartment, and maybe that's like more old school
Yeah.
television, but yeah, 23 is usually like that secret number that they use for everything.
Yeah.
Like what do we use
been
for
my
this
race
apartment?
number and been very successful.
Successful.
You are.
It's actually, if you look at like verses in the Bible and stuff, there's certain important verses that are 22 or 12 and 23.
Psalm 23, right? The shepherd, the Lord is
It's
my
a
shepherd.
Very important ones. And there's a whole book called Numbers. And then in Revelation, well, I mean, what are they talking about? Why 666? And it's interesting because church people can't figure out what 666 means, but people who know numbers, they know what it means. Like they can figure out the triplication of 6 because it's there for them. And that's a very interesting thing about it. It wasn't that church people were going to decipher Revelation and take it like verbatim. This is exactly what's going to happen. This isn't a gigantic metaphor. This is really, really going to happen. And some physical being's going to come out of the sky at the end of everything and save us with, that's not going to happen. But everything else is there, but it's all in metaphor and it's all there for people to discover and uncover. I find that interesting, but I did notice like when people really do go crazy, they'll read numbers to tell them that their crazy thing that they're doing is true. And it's because they do find their stability within the numbers as well, because the numbers, they give structure, they give stability. So crazy people. So it doesn't mean that you're going crazy because you see numbers. I always see numbers. And actually I've noticed like my last apartment that I got evicted from, the number added up to 9. And when I moved in, I was like, this shit's not going to last. I was like, this isn't forever. This is going to be a very short time. And I need to like use my time wisely here. And now, they have other numbers. I'm going to share my whole numbers thing with them. But like, I just find it very interesting. I always thought that numbers were great, like for that structure.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't really into smoking numbers like crack, but that's more my astrology. So some people in here, to wind this up, just kind of wanted to get back to more astrology. And actually, I want to open up the chat for any questions for anybody that's here. So maybe we'll just start with final thoughts, what people kind of have to say about everything we were speaking about. And then I'll kind of look up some questions and just kind of throw them out there as people are closing down.
Okay.
Numbers and my phone won't even look at it.
Yeah, I'm looking at my phone just to see my chart.
Like it's saying that I think
Nicole's like, I'm going to look at my chart right now.
Not my chart, the chart of the eclipse, my personal screenshot of the chart.
Oh.
Oh, I'm looking at my
Oh,
chart. just
yeah,
studying
Kim. What's
going
up with
on.
Kim?
Amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've
mean,
been.
You know what's
eyeing
crazy,
that.
Kim? That thing was like all these colors.
It was
and it was
lime.
transforming colors the whole time, and I was like looking back, I was like, whoa. There's a lot of color in there.
There is. But it's like, I think you talked about darkness.
Will you push that as far as you could, too? Yeah.
Sorry.
It's
Let me
okay.
get used to this. Talking about darkness, and how like light doesn't shine without that. And I feel like that's why painting for me really highlights the fact that all those colors wouldn't pop as much without the darkness. And it highlights the complements, it frames like these things. So that visual aspect, that tangibility. I feel like we speak a lot about things. I think people, when they see it, it's more tangible, the information. And even talking about getting back to spirit and creating things yourself, that's why I love to create. It just becomes that visual tangibility, and it puts you in that present space of weighing, is this me or is this not me? But just submitting and manifesting in the energy of finding out is a gift in and in itself. Yeah, so yeah, all these colors. Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was amazing because watching the layering of it, I was watching the corner of my eye. My favorite color is turquoise. Yeah. And it was like at one point, it was like almost all turquoise.
Yeah.
That's how many layers you have to do just to get that little bit of turquoise in there. So you're not really like putting turquoise there. You like layered turquoise and then put colors on top of it and only just let a little bit come out, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a process. I feel like that's why, the segment of the show is There's an Art to Life.
Yeah.
Is to show that build up. And I start with inspiration. I start with a beautiful color. And then I allow everything else to speak to me. It's not like I put that there and then I covered it up. The essence is still there. Everything that we do, it has a purpose. If I sit here in a manifestation of love and light, and it's that color turquoise, it doesn't disappear. It's still there, even in the darkness.
Yeah, it's like the rings on a tree. It reminds me of, like, even though they might go back, they're still there. They're recording so much data of the life of that tree and everything like that.
100.
Even though maybe the new layer that's out on the tree is the bark is totally different.
Yeah.
Could even look different at one time too. We don't even know that.
But it wouldn't be able to even get to that capacity without those underlayers.
Yeah.
Same thing with the process of painting. It is a buildup. It is a celebration of every single layer. It is a process. It's an evolution.
And it's our genealogy too, of like where we come from and all those layers. And it's very Cancerian, actually. All these layers and layers and layers and layers. And this goes back to Alyssa's whole like dipping down. Like many people are like, maybe you only want to look at the picture, but might want to not go all the way. And I think the reason why Kim's doing this show is because, like, let's be honest, doing art is like the one thing most people are like, I can't draw, or I can't do this, or but it's like you're going to be doing this show to help people like really say, hey, like,
I'm worth it.
Yeah.
I'm worth creating. I'm worth sitting in a space of a color that I love. And I'm worth creating something that I could decipher. Is like, it's a reference point. A lot of people say, oh, I don't know what to paint. I don't know what to do. Well, you know that you want to paint, though.
Yeah.
And that's a good enough reason to just begin to create versus just waiting, holding your breath for that one thing that's going to be it. You know that, but you know what it's not.
Yeah, I want to ask you a personal question, Kim, because Kim did the inside of High Vibe Studios in the hallway, which is insane. Like, it's beautiful, insane. It's like you literally go
really
down the hallway and it like leads into, and you're the masterpiece of where the hallway ends, but it actually goes into this infinity zone.
Yeah.
Like, where do you get your inspiration for this stuff? Because I got to be honest with you, like, just even that, the picture behind that, every painting of yours, I'm like, where are you getting all this? Like, and I just want to get your soul's.
It obviously it comes from a space of feeling lonely, depth, right? And when you come from that space of not knowing what it is, you then seek what it is, right? Like for me, inspiration from these very low spaces of vibrations, my low frequencies, is actually having looking up to find the finding the things that truly speak to me, like music. You cannot deny that. Like a field full of yellow flowers, that's obvious, right? The yellow is beautiful, but when I see that one imperfect purple in the middle of it, I think that's from the color purple, right? Like, be the purple in a field full of yellow flowers. I think that's also by finding the things that spoke to me that seem imperfect it helps me relate all my imperfections and all my flaws. So that space of loneliness, that space of not feeling like I belonged in certain places, right? Because of conditioning or family. Like I come from a first generation Filipino family, like being an artist, like what the hell? Like, no, you don't choose that type of life. You choose these constricted, expectations, but having that undeniable yearning to seek what spoke directly to me is all the little things I feel like I collected throughout the years. And I also love the space of unpredictability. I love the space of, I could have just painted, a sun in that hallway, or I could have just painted like an object.
Right.
But what I wanted to do is with the color and even that wall, I wanted there to feel like it kept on going.
Right.
Depth.
Well, that's what I was going to
Journey.
ask you about that wall, because if nobody's seen it, of course, unless maybe they've seen it, I've done it a lot on my Instagram. But it's like it literally does go out into infinity. It really does. And when I used to draw a lot, it was really dark. When I was in the darkest places of my life as a methamphetamine addict in a room full of meth heads and stuff, and I would just pull out a piece of paper and I would draw, and like I drew some of the craziest beings you've ever seen in your life, but there would always be this one doorway to the light. And I don't know why I would always draw that. Like I would always draw there was a way out, like there was a way into the positive. It was always like a really weird thing. And every time I look at there, I'm kind of tripped out because I'm like, it's like she's like magnified that one little thing that I had drawn before.
But I believe everyone has that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for me to show my stories. You see a lot of myself, which is crazy for me to even admit. My journey as an artist has been a very long journey, and even looking back, I didn't realize I've painted myself in a lot of these paintings. But that's right there is like me telling other people, like, I get it. I get where you get, but I also know that there is that little light as well. Yeah. So my thing is like
even in your picture right now on the eclipse, there's that spark of light that's popping.
And it exists in every single moment we allow ourselves to have.
Mm-hmm.
So painting for me is allowing, showing people to be present, that joy is tangible if we look for it, that light is there if we look for it. But it does, and it comes directly from us.
Wow.
Personally. Yeah.
Well, so I'm going to read a couple of these questions out, and we'll have us all answer, and we'll end the journey. We'll end the journey tonight with these. So, okay. Wow, there was a lot about you, Kim, in there. There was a lot.
Really after dark.
Yeah, it really is after dark. People are saying I'm watching you, Dylan.
Yeah, I saw that, Craig. I responded.
I can't.
So there was one. And I guess because we got a lot of astrologers here, Placidus or whole sign was
Whole
a question.
sign.
Yeah, we're both Placidus.
I'm from the Vedic astrology school, like that's. But I have
we got to get
used
the opinions of why. So why whole sign?
Because that is the way that Vedic astrology is taught. But I also use house cusps, so there isn't like a reason why or why not, because I actually have studied Western astrology and used Placidus and also tried using Cook, and they work perfectly fine as well. It's just like I decided to study with specific teachers. I studied with Ernst Wilhelm. I studied with Michael Reed. Before that, Dr. David Frawley. And you kind of just have to go by what your teacher is using so you don't get lost and you don't get confused, and that you can understand what you're doing, and you just get used to it. And I mean, after speaking with you more, it's like, maybe I should like look more at the Western chart using Placidus or Cook, just to
Porphyry. Or Porphyry.
Yeah, just to get like another look at things, because I do notice that works. Like when I have taken Western astrology classes, like everything that comes up when I look at that chart is accurate and true. But yeah, I just you get in a routine.
Yeah,
and that's just the way it is.
What about you, Alyssa? Or
Me, sorry. I started just reading comments. I finally found the live stream down there. Okay. I learned on Placidus, and the thing is there was the first chart reading I ever had was on it, and it resonated, and I dove into it, and I've looked in other things before, and I don't resonate with them personally, and I don't want to give it to somebody if I don't feel it. And for like a lot of things too, like some people will say that interceptions and stuff, they're just like extra complicated. But I found that like when there's an interception, it's the most important thing that I'll like read in a chart.
God, you're speaking my language now.
Yeah, because I'm like, that's it. Like I have an interception in the 7th house and my sun and my Mercury in there, and you can explain my entire life right there. Like that's it.
What is the signs that are intercepted in your chart?
Libra and Aries.
Oh.
Yes. And my Venus and my Mars are conjunct in Virgo. So there's a lot of like I think people kind of, for me, they tell me that like, oh, you just are on this route. Like you do this, you're just a little bit crazy. And I'm like, you have no idea how strong the pull is to do what everybody else is doing all the time. Like, but it's this interception that I'm like, but I'm missing something else if I don't go do it. And I don't know what it is, or I didn't. And I just had to keep going for it. And it didn't matter.
Yeah,
but
it's true Aries Libra battle too. It's like my relationships are what I'm defining my. No, wait, no, hold on. I got to do me now, and then there's that whole
I was so good. I was a very good single person, but I always was like, but I need that love. I need that relationship. As soon as I get the relationship, I'm gonna be fine. Then I got the relationship, and I was like, okay, now I can work. And then I got married, and then I was like, okay, now that is done. Okay, now we have to get me. Where's my life? Where's my life? Where's my life? And then I was like losing my life more and more and more. And then I'm just like, oh my God. Like it's obsession.
Yeah.
And I have no planets in Aries. So you're like, where's my obsession?
Interceptions literally can hold the key to so much of evolutionary astrology wise of soul's mission to learn here. And where the missing piece usually is. And it also helps describe why people born really high up in the north, like whether that's New York or whether you go up to Canada or whether you go up to England, like you go up to Russia, you get really crazy Placidus charts. You get really small houses, you get big houses, you get really major interception aspects. And that's always why, they always say like the British have like bad teeth or
there's something,
there's a lot of stuff. But then when you go way south, right, then you get a lot of that element with Placidus. So that's why I've always really enjoyed Placidus, because it's really mathematical. Whereas like Porphyry, it's pretty more of like a spiritual. It kind of gets a little bit more fair, I guess you could say. Or another one is equal sign, of course, because of course at least it's going by the exact degree of the ascendant, and that is an exact point. If a planet is crossing that space, like that is activating the ascendant purely. Whereas in whole sign, it's like, oh, just because the planet's in that sign, it's activating it, which I see. But like a good example is like if we use it in transit form. So like I have a moon in Taurus, so Uranus is in Taurus. So am I, yeah, sure, I really am learning different. And we all three have moon in Taurus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's
Super
like, of course we all are dealing with emotions in different ways, but it's not there yet fully in that moment. That will be gnarly when the Uranus crosses the moon for me.
Yeah.
So that's why I go with those elements. But I think that the thing about whole sign is you can just do it in your head. It's not, why even have a chart if you're going to do whole sign? Like why even have it if you can just do it in your head?
Yeah. Like it's like the uncovering the Placidus chart. It's just like, wow, damn, that's going on in there. I wouldn't have been able to predict that. Like I had no idea that this was happening. And like, it's cool. Like, oh wait, your 5th house isn't ruled by Leo, it's ruled by Cancer.
Right,
so that throws you off.
And that's the other part is the rulerships shift in Placidus off people. So people are like, oh yeah, if like, let's say we'll take it easy, Aries rising. So Mercury is my 3rd house ruler. But if somebody's intercepted in Gemini, like, like Cancer might actually be their ruler of their 3rd house. Like, so now the moon's the ruler, so it switches things.
Yeah, it's so fun for me. I love to scare people too. Oh, yeah, like an intercepted Cancer. Like, what does that mean? Like, well, it means you're going to die now. That's just my go-to.
What about you, Dylan? What do you like to use in astrology?
Oh, I'm very general. So I guess it's Placidus.
Yeah, you
I
just
don't know.
run with Ran.
Yeah.
like Astro.com uses Placidus as their default.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah. I love Vedic too.
Okay.
I love nakshastras. I love that whole aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because it kind of reminds me of how the signs are split up in human design in different gates. So it gives more specificity to each degree. And I love Sabian symbols too.
Yeah.
So
Yes, they're amazing. And I want to tell you guys, I do use house cusps, so it's not like so general,
Yes.
and I really pay attention to them. So don't get that wrong.
No, we're not getting that one wrong. I also wanted to add, since we brought up the nakshatras, like for me, I'm much more in using, like I'll use, there's a lot of things that I'll use, but especially for me, I'm always like, okay, when I'm looking at people's charts, like I'm like, all right, I'm running multiple layers. So not only, of course, with solar arcs and secondary progressions, and then, of course, I'm in my head, of course, can do whole sign in my chart. In my head, I can do equal sign in my head. So there's no point to run them. But there's also understanding like what deacons I'm running, right? So deacons are more of a nakshatra form in Western, right? Like each 10 degrees is going to be ruled by a planet in that sign. But when you go into Ptolemy, or you can add Lily with Ptolemy, or you can, and I use Ptolemy because I'm a Ptolemy-based astrologer pretty much as far as like I'm concerned. I can go into that another day. But I run Ptolemy's deacons, and they get split up every 5 degrees. So I'm adding 5-degree deacons on top of 10-degree deacons, and being able to look at, okay, traditional deacons with Ptolemy deacons, and being like, this is a Mars-Venus area being activated. Boom, like of that degree, of that spot, with the interceptions. And in my head, like, okay, yeah, okay, you're 24 whatever degree this. Like in my head, I'll be like, okay, that's where the equal is, but your Placidus is here, so I will aspect that. And then there's the whole solar aspect of like, Westerners were solar astrologers. So it's like, okay, if you're a Cancer, like that's already going to be your 4th house in Libra. So it's like already there's a background of a 4th house Libra coming into whatever that house is, coming into whatever those deacons are, whatever the rulers of those deacons are. And oh my God, then it gets, there's just way more layers. There's just way more. It's very specific. You can get very, you know.
I like, the more I got into astrology, the more like I was like digging into more and more stuff. And so now, like before, I used to try to give everybody a, like, I'm talking about this and this point and this point and this point and this point. And it was like kind of exhausting for me because I'm a Pisces ascendant. Like I got all that Virgo, so it leads me down to that area and it's like ruling it. But the more that I got in touch with myself, I'm like, okay, I do a lot better if I just look at the chart and something bounces off at me. Like it's a visual, like visual art. So like I look at the chart, it's a very visual situation. And I think that's why I like the things. And sometimes like, Deacon will pop out of me as like being important, but I like how like that works now with me. And I feel like that's a really important thing because otherwise, like for me, I mean, and some people probably would really enjoy this. It's just like going further and further down the rabbit hole, but then you'd like die and you got to pull yourself out eventually. Like pull yourself back to just be like, okay, I can actually tell you the exact same thing by staring at this and feeling it as someone can if you like opened up a book and pointed out and started reading every little like thing about it. And so I think in a way too, like just bring it back to Placidus, it's also why I like Placidus. To me, it's like a prettier picture to look at. But I mean, it's also very different, like depending on what you want to look at and the way that your brain works.
It's very much more unique. Like,
yeah,
as far as like, it's not just planets and houses. Like, it's like, bam, like you are really weird in this area, and you have really weird over here.
Yeah, I mean, you'll use those words in my brain all the time. I got something going on there. I haven't like figured it out yet. I know that my brain's going there, but I will talk about this for a second. Okay, now we're back here. I get it. This weird thing's happening to you, and we'll just work it out. Okay, now it's cool. It's not weird.
Yeah. There was a question of where can people buy Kim's paintings? Where can people buy your paintings, Kim?
You could go to my Instagram page, Kim Tabay _art, and also see a lot of my paintings on my website, which is www.tabaybj.com. That's TABAYBEJ.com as well. So a lot of my paintings are also on my accessories as well. So I like to make art more tangible in unexpected ways. So yeah, I have a lot of accessories on there as well.
Wow. All right, we'll take one last question, and then we are going to be wrapped up here. A lot of people were really into all this talk on the house systems, but maybe we should just switch it up to, I don't know, maybe do you all have a question that you want us all to answer here? And
Can we pull a card?
Yes.
yeah, people were asking for a card to be
Okay.
pulled.
Do you guys want to do? Oh, sorry. Do you guys want to do a cards of truth or a tarot?
Yeah, we
Cards
wanna
of
learn about
truth.
Cards of truth.
There's too many tarot readers online.
Okay, it's actually funny because I haven't worked with this deck so much. Sorry, Sylvia, because I just got it from, I think she's in Italy right now. And so we might get one of her major arcana cards, which I won't know how to decipher. So because I don't know which one's which. So I'm going to pull until I get one of the cards of truth cards, one of the original 52 cards, okay?
We need to phone it into Sylvia.
Yeah, or if Sylvia...
We just include her major arcana and we include...
We interpret it based off of the art and not because I won't be able to say.
I'll interpret
So
it.
Alyssa will be the art interpreter, the Piscean art interpreter. But what question are we answering? We're not ready.
I would
quite
just
yet.
say, like, what's this eclipse doing for all of us? I mean,
Okay.
we've given it from a lot of forms, but let's just say, like, what is this portal? What can it offer for all of us right now?
Okay.
Like, and the best way possible for us to really go through this gateway in the best way. Unless anybody wants to interject with add to that or something.
Okay.
Maybe we should all add a piece to it all.
I'm gonna have you draw the cards. The king of.
Anybody have another add piece to this reading?
Oh. Wait, what?
I want something crazy from Alyssa. Come on.
I want
wasn't
something
paying
crazy. We're all gonna die. Actually, I can't. I feel like you did a good job with that. Let me just think 1 second. No feelings. I think what I want to do is, I want you to pull a picture, and if you do, I want to interpret it. I want to see what
Yes.
it means. I don't know what it
Okay,
will mean,
so-
yet, so that will be my crazy thing.
So you have to draw at least one cards of truth card and at least one of the arcana cards, and you'll be able to tell it. I'll tell you if it what is what. Let me see. Okay, so this is one I will interpret. Okay. And this is one that Alyssa
good,
will
right?
interpret,
So
and that's going to be
I
upside
pulled
down.
One of each, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Good job. So we can show it to the
yes.
camera. So I have the Jack of Clubs reversed.
That card. Gee.
Oh yeah,
Christmas.
that's really important for you. Pick up your mic.
Found that card on the beach this weekend.
Okay, so
Oh, I have more Jacks of Clubs in my life than ever. Remember? I mean,
Yes.
like Nicole ran all the people. I'm like, run this person, run to Jack of Clubs, Jack of Clubs, Jack of Clubs. I'm like, gosh, I can't run away from Jack of Clubs.
okay, so what is this? What was the question? Like, what is this eclipse gonna bring?
Yeah.
Okay, actually, Alyssa, do you want to go first? So that
How to best use this knowledge to help us through the gateway to our best self of everything we described today about. Whether it's from your Eight of Spades perspective to the King of Diamonds, whether it's the perspective of Alyssa with going deeper to actually go out, right? The opposite way. And then with Dylan's aspect of like truly, like, I mean, there's so many ways that Dylan put it. So how would you put it, Dylan? Finding peace, I guess, to find more awareness in self, or...
I don't know. Just go.
okay, if you think of something, let us know. So Alyssa, you're gonna interpret that card first, and then I'll do my
Okay.
final interpretation of this Jack of Clubs.
Okay, so
reversed.
it appears to be the reversed Hierophant, right? But it's actually very interesting because the way that the art is depicted, it's like a reverse Pope. It's rules upside down. If you're going to make it through, and there's like a window here, which I think is very interesting. You're only going to make it out through the window. You got to go down, but you're going to come up upside. So it's exactly what we've been saying. Like this is no joke. This is like, it's telling us it's true. You got to go, you know what? And I think like this, you go down into the water and keep going. And eventually by the time you get up, you're going to be at the shore again. You're not even like going to realize it, which by the way, just reminded me, did you ever see that movie Gattaca?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know how at the very end, okay, spoiler, the middle of it, like he beats them. Sorry, this is like so funny. I'm like so Pisces right now. I already like finished the end. They're always racing. The two brothers are always racing against the water, and the bigger brother, the better brother, he always wins because he was the better one. He got his father's name, and the other one was a loser, and his DNA checked out that he was never going to mount anything. And then one day he beats his brother, and his brother asks him, How did you beat me? You're not stronger than me. You're not better than me.
Your genetics are not.
And your genetics are not good. I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to do it. They basically just play chicken. They go out to the middle and then they have to swim back. And Ethan Hawke, he's always going to die first. And so the big thing was, he goes, well, I didn't have any intention of going back. I was going to go all the way to the other side. And that's what I think it is. It's like you're going to lose your stamina if you think, and you're going to lose it because you're going to be afraid. If you think that you have to go to a certain point and that you're eventually going to have to turn back around, you are going to get scared and turn back around quickly. But what if you just keep going forward in the direction that's scary? You're going to have to keep going. You might drown, but there is a shore on the other side. And by the time you get there, you'll be flipped around and we will no longer be in the upside down.
Well, and it brings up this whole unwritten law thing to me of like going, not like against the rules, but maybe just
the rules that you might have in your own head. Yeah.
These old patriarchy, old
Yeah.
cripply men who were weird idea of how to live, like that no longer is serving us in this new gateway. I mean, Pope reversed also as well, or Hierophant reversed is also kind of like redoing old traditions, like getting rid of tradition. Like your traditions might be actually not working anymore for you. And it also is a card that also can be like your schedule being shifted. Like, oh, you know what? The routine you've been on is not working anymore. So like, you know, being the altar boy is not fun anymore. Like that's not a candlestick.
And traditions aren't your roots. Like traditions aren't that. People think that they are. They're like, oh, well, these are my traditions. I do these every year. Like I make these happen. I go to church every Sunday. This is who I am. And it's not. They're not your roots. You do have rules inside of you, but they're your own. And you can't keep playing on this fact that like, I got to do everything the way that I've always done it because it's what insanity is, because nobody's going. Is anybody happy? If you're happy, raise your hand. If you're happy, raise your hand and keep going down your path. I'm happy on my new path.
All right. Do you guys want to know about this Jack of Clubs?
I do.
Reversed?
Yeah. So when the Jack of Clubs is upright, it's literally like that holy trinity of massive creative power. It's like the pure creativity, the strength of creativity that you can have to do anything. Like you're coming up with crazy ideas. You're like, I'm going to do this and that or the other thing. And you just want to express yourself and you're excited. And it's just so energetic. And when I see it reversed, I don't see it being that we're not supposed to be creative or we're not supposed to be expressive or we're not supposed to share whatever it is that we feel like sharing. I think that this is bringing up repressed creativity and repressed thoughts and repressed ideas and repressed beliefs. So everyone's so scared of sharing their belief systems, sharing what they really think these days. It's like anytime that you really share a true thought or a true idea or a true piece of art, people get scared or the people with all their pitchforks come out. So I think that this is really looking at, well, what are you not expressing right now? And like Alyssa was saying, going through this window, like get through that window. And actually maybe one of the ways through that window is by expressing the true expression, expressing the things that we're afraid to express, that we're inhibiting. Like to me, this is like we're inhibiting something. And because this is like a gift of the eclipse, essentially this card that we're looking at, it's like, I think it's time to express it, but first it's about identifying what we're not expressing and moving forward.
It's a face card, so it's reversed. It's like people are afraid to maybe step into, especially the Jack is the first of the face cards, right? So it's like crossing over, and how funny that you brought up 10, right? Like, because 10 to Jack brings you to the next level, right?
Yes.
So it's like people want to stay maybe in the 10 world or stay as a numbered card and are afraid to step into more of this like face card, this like that actually is given some sort of, even though we're talking kind of like against the authority of it, but it's like this more of like recognition of being a figure. Like the face cards are kind of, you know, without saying like they're better or anything, because I don't think they are, but it just they have a form, an identity that's much more present. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, and especially as a club, and I'm a club, it's about truth. It's like the truth might not be the Jack of Clubs. I always feel like can become like feeling like kind of like a tyrant to people, because the Jack isn't afraid to kind of like yap 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 it away and say it to more of the higher ups, like to the king and to all this stuff, and they're kind of like, what? You're just a Jack, motherfucker. you know, but like maybe we all need to kind of step into that space because Jacks have the youthful and the excitement, and they don't have as much attachment to the responsibilities as like a king or a queen does, that they can actually freely express themselves a little bit more without some sort of like, you know, crash or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of channeling.
Yes, I would agree.
My sign is Pisces, but I'm on the Aquarius cusp. And I'm a Cancer rising. And I have 6 planets in Capricorn.
Wow. Life changing.
Life changing.
Your life has just been changed by knowing
Everybody's
that.
been asking for Nicole's sign.
Really?
Yep.
Try to guess, you guys. Well, try to guess you. Everyone else knows.
I already know too.
You already know my design?
Well, I said
no.
it in the
Oh, your design.
No, my sign. Oh, you can guess my design and my sign.
I already know both.
What?
I do already know both.
Oh, fine.
I told them
I'm
your design.
a manifester and I'm a Cancer.
Do you know my design? Can you guess?
Oh, yeah,
I
we don't
hate
know.
this though. Like I don't want to make you guess because people always want me to guess, but sometimes I'm really into it. So if you're into it,
I don't know, but maybe you're a manifestor too.
I'm a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm a manifesting generator.
And what are you?
Manifesting generator.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm like the unique one.
Well, there's only
I wonder, what is Kim? Have you ever done Kim's?
she doesn't know. I don't know. We just went
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
All I know is I'm a Virgo.
Well, the best way to find everybody is, of course, you can find them on their socials. You can find Nicole Brenny. You're what at? Everybody just go down the list. Where can we find you?
YouTube.com/listen to the stars and NicoleBrenny.com. And I'm like, listen to the stars or Nicole Brenny on all the social media and all of that. So I'm around.
I used to go by Alyssa Sharp, so you can kind of find that. You can also Google search Alyssa Astrology. But right now, if you Google search Alyssa Trahan, I don't exist. It's like a big solar eclipse moment for me. But you can Instagram.com/Alyssa_Trahan. TRAHAN is me. And that's where I normally am. And that's where I do readings. And I will tell you, like, I used to have Facebook as my hub, but I like to have a central nervous system. And that's definitely Instagram. I really
And you
like
two you guys were filming some videos back there.
Mm-hmm. Where
Yeah, if you want to understand why we chose these exact makeup looks and
I was like, yeah, we actually didn't like even finish filming. I'm like, what time is it?
no, but we had like a really fun, hilarious time, and I think there's going to be more to come. But I don't even know if we can edit that video, but it is really funny and it's really fun.
I don't know. We should put like the raw. No, we can't put the raw footage up there.
And it's astrological. It's not just us being stupid, but it is a lot of us just being stupid, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so. I just like more of that idea. Creation, putting makeup on. It's better.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate being a talking head, guys. I just hate it. I love to talk.
But you do love to be a beautiful talking.
I love to be a beautiful talking head. But no, I like to do something too. That was the death of me. That's why even coming back to YouTube after a hiatus has been this sort of a struggle trying to figure out where I even want to use YouTube.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a podcast too. I have like 3 episodes because I figure now that I do just like talk a lot about like this weird stuff, it doesn't necessarily belong on my channel. And if you want to listen to it, you can like listen to it in the car where YouTube is not as easy, and I can put it out there. And that's sort of like my new thing. And I have Patreon, but yeah, go find me on Instagram.
And also, if you guys want to see the collaboration between Alyssa and I, then one video is gonna be on my channel, and then another video will be on Alyssa's channel.
Yes,
and
it's gonna be great.
I also have I have to edit this video that Alyssa and a bunch of amazing astrologers did, answering the question of what is the ego. So that's coming up, and because that's kind of a hard question to answer. So
Yeah, and I feel like I answered it wrong last time. I decided to change my mind.
Yeah, Nicole, you do your Cards of Truth school.
yes.
You do readings. You do a lot of stuff. I know you didn't promote any of that, so I'm hooking you up.
Well,
with that.
okay, if you guys want to learn the Cards of Truth, I'm like literally one of the only people that teaches it, and it's a life-changing system. Basically, there are laws to nature, and they are explained by the cards. And when you understand your birth card, which is calculated from the exact time, date, location that you were born, you can learn how to harmonize yourself with nature. And we go through these little cycles and these lessons I like to call spirals that really can be really amazing, or they can be really difficult. So if you learn more about your birth card and the system, you can learn how to harmonize yourself with nature. You can learn how to unlock your fullest potential. And you can also learn how to read for other people. So it's an amazing system. We can literally see like other people in your life through the system, which you can't necessarily do with astrology, like specific people. Like for instance, I believe Alyssa's card like was showing up in me and also David's spread today. So I could have predicted that Alyssa would have been part of my day today. Like you can do insane predictions, insane things with the cards. So you can get a Cards of Truth reading with me at my website, NicoleBrenny.com. And I do like sell out of my classes all the time with the Cards of Truth. So if you want to be on the wait list for my next class, which should start late 2019, early 2020, just like email me hi@NicoleBrenny.com. And you can just like, you'll find my stuff. You'll be able to figure it out.
ASMR.
And I do ASMR and past life readings right now for a limited time only. Hit me up.
Kim, why don't we, where can we find all your art and all your work?
I'm mostly on Instagram. I'm old school, so this whole social media thing is just something I really have to start exposing myself, especially since.
Well, and you'll be on
I've been
High
hiding.
Vibe with your program and stuff like
so
that.
The
so.
program is called There's an Art to Life. I'm really excited about that. You can find me on Instagram, Kim_Tabay, or my website, tabaybj.com, TABAYBEJ.com. Tabaybj is like an old school, art name I used to have.
Cool.
And Dylan's the spirit advisor.
I'm the spiritadvisor.com. If you're in the Long Beach area or the Southern California area, we're doing a human design workshop this weekend in Long Beach. So you can check that out on my Instagram page, which is @thespiritadvisor. Advisor is spelled with an O. And I'll see you there.
And you can find me on highvibe.tv or at the Leo King, pretty much everywhere else. Or Instagram is the Leo King. Dumb. Anyway, I had a great time with all you, and I just want to say thank you so much for being always here and spreading your knowledge. And I'm proud to know and be sharing this with you all.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for finally having me. It's been
No
a
problem.
blast.
It's been a while, yeah. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us on After Dark. And of course, if you missed Deep Astrology, it is on YouTube, or make sure that you get it on High Vibe. It's actually free now. You can watch Deep Astrology where I describe a lot of the chaos and the confusion that's been going on. But the best way to support, to keep shows like this and Deep Astrology live on air is to go to highvibe.tv. Just check it out. And check out all my daily videos, my weekly sun sign horoscopes, and much more. And I have a new show coming out. And I was talking with Craig, maybe it's going to be more of a Thursday thing, where I'm going to do exclusive live show where I just answer questions to people like this, more astrology related, every week. So definitely check that out, highvibe.tv. And you can get the app, highvibe.tv, by clicking on whatever device you're on, or Apple TV. And Roku and Amazon Fire are coming out. Thanks so much for all the support. We will see you all later. Happy eclipse to you all. And it ain't over yet. Just know that. See you later.